Hi, I'm Ben.
And I'm Josh.
And this is the Bad at Magic Podcast, a podcast about games, life, and other things. And welcome to episode 154.
Ben, I have fantastic news for you. So
great.
It turns out we can continue to trash the planet as much as we want. Because we found a new one. It's totally
a new planet?
Yes. We have identified, I'm looking for the thing. Here it is. It's TOI 1846b as in Bravo. It is an Earth-like planet that is it's 1.7 the diameter of Earth and about a little over 4 times its mass. And it's in like the golden zone distant from its sun. It's 154 light years away. But if we start now, maybe, 6 generations from now can have a chance.
154 light years. But if we can see that it's similar to Earth, why would we assume that it's not already occupied by someone else ruining their own planet?
I'm going to shrug at you at this one, okay? This is because you just took my weird scientific fact that there is a program that's identifying exoplanets out there in the world, which I thought was interesting. And they are only presuming that it's Earth-like. They can see how big it is and how far away from its star that it is. And from that, They can calculate certain things like, there could be liquid water there. Or there could not be. We don't know. But you're taking it into Fermi paradox territory, and I don't know how deep you want to go down that rabbit hole with me.
Yeah, I was learning about Van der generator probes or something like that this week. Dang, I can't remember the guy's name. Some scientist that has this theory that like at some point we'll develop the technology where you can develop a probe that can replicate itself, and it will fly to another planet, gather the materials it needs, replicate itself, and go. And the fact that technology could potentially exist at some point in the future means that if alien civilizations exist, we would already know about it because we would see these things.
Yeah, the Fermi paradox says that even at sublight speeds, the entire galaxy should have been conquered by one alien race or another twice by now. So the question is, where are all the aliens? And there are lots of answers to that. The scary one is that there is a great filter that we are approaching and haven't passed yet, where intelligent species only gets to this level and then gets shellacked either by physics or by socioeconomics or just something that we're not aware of yet. That's the scary one. The one that I like to prescribe to is that, they're out there and they are shielding us like a nature preserve from the larger universe.
Like the Vulcans not paying attention to the humans until they actually gave off a warp signature?
That is exactly how Star Trek handles first contact with alien races. They completely leave them alone until they break warp and they're like, okay, if your civilization has advanced this far, you are now a part of the club. Let us indoctrinate you into all of our hippie nonsense.
Okay, so it's funny how quickly we degenerated in science fiction, but there's something unscience fiction-y that I want to focus on here. And that is, I remember when I was a kid and we would ask the question, do other planets like Earth exist? And they would just do the George Washington shrug and say, nobody knows.
Which is crap, because yes, we knew at that time. Of course, there has to be.
But we didn't have any way to figure it out back then.
Yeah, that's true.
Whatever methods they're using now, whether it's light shifting or wobbling of gravity, we didn't have sensitive enough instruments or good enough calculations to even make any kind of certain judgment about that. Good enough telescopes, all of these things. And now we have all of that. Which is fantastic.
Yeah, they didn't have all the instruments. They couldn't prove it, you're right. But math says that they had to exist.
Sure,
absolutely.
But that's a philosophical question. It wasn't a scientific one at that point.
Yeah, that's fair. And unfortunately, whenever we have philosophical arguments, there's people like me in the room talking to people like you in the room, and we have completely different underlying assumptions.
What are you talking about? If we'd had this discussion back in the 80s and you're like, do other planets like Earth exist? Maybe. I would have shrugged my shoulders and said, we don't have any evidence.
If we had this conversation in the 40s, it'd be like, of course there are. Let's check the numbers like the math says there has to be. But then somebody like you, maybe not you specifically, maybe somebody like you, like, nope, it's Earth because God said so. And there's nothing I can do to stop that argument.
All right, but I refuse to be the straw in that man. We had some follow-up from last time. You put both of these on here, so I'll let you drive.
So, this is great because I put these as placeholders that never got fleshed out. So we need to talk about, because the last episode that we recorded was at MagicCon in Las Vegas. We went, we saw... We did all the stupid things, and I think we both left completely exhausted.
Yeah.
I think between us,
as we always do,
6 or 7 hours the whole weekend.
Yeah. Okay, so we recorded our episode 153 on Saturday night, and we still had another day of the tournament. So is that what you're talking about, the final day, or kind of the whole experience?
It's like the whole experience. Now we've had some time to decompress, cool down, reflect back on it, and like I can think and talk about the experience without you in the room, like biasing my opinions and vice versa. Like,
okay, do you want to go first?
Well, here's one thing that I want to say is you brought a completely novel setup for content creation that I was completely unaware of and completely unprepared for. And as I tend to do, I poo-pooed it a little bit at the beginning, but it turned out it worked great. We had,
Thanks.
So Ben bought some really fancy lapel mics, like we were real content creators, like real big kids with all the other people. And so a couple of times we wore them, we made content with them, recorded on the floor, it, like blocked out the background noise pretty good. The only downside is I think we need to build hats. This is why I think I see all these content creators wearing
so you don't
those.
accidentally brush it or rustle it.
Anybody that's listened to episode 153 may have noticed a time or two when either Ben or I or both of us brushed our lapel mic ever so slightly. And they are such good microphones that they proceeded to translate that into the apocalypse for our podcast listeners.
Yeah, you're definitely right there. Man, my reflections on that weekend were more along the lines of like redefining what I consider to be success in my Magic career.
Well, that's the little bit we talked to MTG Nerd Girl for 10 minutes while we were walking over there the first day.
Yeah.
And I was doing everything I could to try to like run interference. I was trying to be the apology guy. Like, listen, he's normally a normal person. I don't know why he's
totally
so
into it.
I don't know. I don't know if we'll know her true feelings about that subject at any point.
Huh.
I think she was happy that she introduced herself and we didn't immediately fly off the handle as like part of her fan base.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I can be rainbow flying out of the butt of the unicorn sometimes, but
sometimes.
Okay, so I went there. I knew that I was out of practice in the constructed formats. You know, I knew that I wasn't fully versed on the metagame and that I hadn't selected a deck early enough that I would be well practiced and at the top of my game so that I was likely to do well in a tournament. There is always the possibility that you'll just win the die rolls, you know, that you'll bring a deck and get the right matchups and just through sheer experience and the inertia of all your past Magic career, you'll just have a great day.
Yeah, but you brought the bad version of Scissors when everybody else was playing the good version of Scissors.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a reference to Rock, Paper, Scissors, which a lot of times the Ben game will boil down to that. Ben was playing a deck that was similar to the deck to be playing. And
Definitely.
I mean, your deck had some good games. I saw a couple of them.
Yeah. And I had to ask myself, like, I have the best experience when I go to one of those tournaments and win, and I'm in contention going into the final round, and I get that thrill that comes from victory and the potential for winning the ultimate prize and all the glory that goes along with it. But I can also see the cost of that now, and I'm not always willing to make the trade-off anymore. I mean, it's a significant investment of time and energy to come prepared and be at the top of your game.
This is really interesting because I had a similar experience in a completely different way. Like,
right,
just kind of wake up to, all right. So I had an awakening while I was at MagicCon Vegas that I am not a competitive Magic player anymore. But I always thought of myself that I could be. Like, I'm pretty good. I know what's going on. I know the metagame. I know the cards. I can make things happen if I really wanted to. I just don't want to. This is the same thought process that I had months and months ago when I was like, yeah, I'm a weightlifter. I've been a weightlifter since I went to high school. Then I went to the gym and realized, oh, I am way outclassed by everybody that is in this building. I have no right being here anymore. And what did this for me was watching your son, Michael, play that draft. We watched him play one round of a draft and just listening to him talk about the choices that he was making and the like the draft format that he was in and the synergies, and he knew everything so much better, or maybe to a point that I used to back in the day. And I told you when we were walking away from him, is like, man, I was going to do an on-demand draft, but if they are all that taxing, like, there's no way. And the most fun I had was the random Chaos Commander game that I played with three randos, and we all had garbage pre-con decks. And then the pickup Commander games that we played with some of our listeners. And I I realized, Ben, I'm a casual player now.
But we both had that same moment where I look around at the other players. I'm like, I used to be close to as good as these guys, and I'm not anymore.
I watched you play a couple rounds of your competitive games, and I was like, man, this doesn't even look fun. They're not cracking jokes or anything.
Yeah, that's a warning sign when your hobbies don't look fun. Am I having fun right now? Okay, that's pretty good.
All right. And then we also, the other thing that we did while we were in Vegas, the big ticket item was the Hot Ones episode that we decided to film.
Yeah, we decided to do the hot sauce challenge. Truncated a little bit. Like we did 6 out of the 10 sauces, but we didn't cut out the hottest ones.
Yeah, we made the decision to do the 2 hottest ones on purpose. And then we both picked a couple that we thought looked good. And then there was a couple we left out that just didn't look like they tasted good. There was like a garlic one that you tried afterward that was just awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the first one, and it was really bad.
So, listeners, we did the important ones, okay? We did the hot ones and we did the tasty ones. And I had fun doing it. Holy crap, that hot sauce was hot. And I remember the next morning, because we filmed that pretty late in the evening, and then we woke up, and then you had one of those... You had a moment where you had to go into the room where your son was showering and throw him out back into the room proper so that you could utilize all of the facilities.
Was it painted on my face? I'm sitting there waiting for him to come out of the shower, and it was probably all over my face.
Well, what's funny is that I saw that, and my metabolism is slower, and I was like, that's going to be me in about 8 hours. And well, I had just enough time to drive home, and Ben, that was me in about 8 hours. We're sitting there, I was like, oh, it's good to be home, and okay, everybody get out of my way.
I like the concept. You know, I've always enjoyed that show on YouTube, and going through the process of planning it and preparing it and carrying it out. I think I enjoyed it. I enjoyed what that added to the interview format and the experience of doing it. I don't love that hot, spicy kind of stuff, and I wouldn't do that again on purpose or maybe even on a dare, but it was I'll check that one off my bucket list for life. Yeah,
that was definitely one of those things that falls in the category of makes for a good story. I'll never do it again.
So listeners, link in the show notes to the Hot Ones episode. It's on YouTube video format if you want to see it. It's also, there's links to it on our Facebook and on our Reddit if you're interested.
One of the few times we show both of our faces in like the same location on the internet. Now people are going to know what we look like, Ben. We're going to get doxxed. Like people are going to be posting all our stuff next.
Yeah, we've been avoiding that up to this point. So we had that epic road trip to Vegas and some time off, and since then you've done nothing, right? You've just relaxed and taken...
Oh, you've just been down the whole time. No, unfortunately for me. I went to Vegas one week, then I had a weekend at home, and then the next weekend we did an epic road trip. And when I say epic, Ben, I mean it was pretty epic. We went to my in-laws' house, my parent in-laws, father and mother-in-law, who live in Kansas, rural Kansas. Okay. And so here's the thing.
It's like 1,000-mile drive.
It was a 1,000-mile drive. It wasn't quite. It was like 900 and something, but I feel like it was 1,000 miles. It's cooler that way. Ends in a zero. Over 1,000 kilometers. Now let me be clear. We didn't want to drive that far. I didn't want to drive 15 hours one way. I would rather have flown most of the way. The problem is, where they live, it's rural Kansas. If we flew to the nearest international airport, we would then have to rent a car and drive 5 more hours to get to their house. So 5? 5.
Holy cow.
The cost of 4 plane tickets and a rental car, it doesn't make any sense. So just gotta suck it up and drive the 15
Sometimes
hours.
It's money, sometimes it's time, sometimes it's both. It sounds like in that case it's both.
Oh man, we got in the car at 5:30 in the morning and we arrived at their place at 9:30 p.m. But we also, it was only 7:30 my time because I didn't realize this. I knew we were going to cross a time zone, but I didn't realize I was going to cross 2 time zones because of you idiots in your daylight savings times nonsense.
So you were on Pacific time. And
No. I am on Arizona time that doesn't change ever. Everyone else seems to flip-flop around me, and apparently we're on the flop side of it. And so when I went to New Mexico, I moved into one time zone. And then when I went into Texas, I went into another one.
Okay, and so driving east is really bad.
Well, driving east, I lost the time, yeah. And so we showed up at 9:30 at night, and it was still light out. I get why, if you're a farmer...
There's like some demon that's just putting the time in a jar, and he'll give it back to you when you go back home.
Ben, shut up. Like I get the idea because I was in the heartland, man. We were surrounded by farms. Okay, we drove past a high school that was in the middle of nowhere. And when I say the middle of nowhere, Ben, we drove for half an hour with nothing around us but corn, and then came across like a giant, fully equipped, decked out high school, and then drove for another half an hour with nothing but corn surrounding us.
Listeners, if you've never been to rural Kansas before, my favorite way to describe it, I saw it at a truck stop in Kansas one time as I was driving down I-70. I pulled over at the truck stop and they had one of those racks of hats with like cheeky slogans on them. And one of them showed a picture of 5 telephone poles and it said Kansas State Tree.
That's so appropriate.
Yeah.
My wife had to explain to me this idea of county consolidated high schools because the population density in any one place wasn't high enough to warrant the budget for like a town or a city high school. And so like this county would just have a high school and kids would have to be on the bus for upwards of 2 hours a day.
Holy
just
crap.
To go to high school. And that
sucks.
That's what I was like, that's got to be the worst thing ever. And she shrugged at me like, that's just how it is. I'm like,
yeah.
No shrugging allowed. This is a terrible way of life. Why are we aggrandizing
My mom
this?
rode the school bus for 2 hours a day every day through high school in rural Idaho, and it was just the way it was.
I mean, okay, so this is the downside. Okay, let's talk. Let me put these on shelves because I have to talk pros and cons, right? So the con is there was nothing, man. There was nothing out there. But we went to this small town because my wife, we haven't seen her in-laws in forever, and their tiny rural Kansas town goes hard for 4th of July because it's rural Midwest and hoorah, yes, patriotism.
And did you do all of it? Did you do the parade?
Ben, we did the whole thing. Both of my kids participated.
Did you do the Shriners Luncheon?
They did a parade. They shut down the whole town. Ben, when I say they shut down the whole town on the Friday of 4th of July, I mean we walked past City Hall, which is just another one of the buildings on the main... Okay. My wife's entire town is 1 mile by 1 mile square. The highway is one of the major crossroads. The other major crossroad is called Main Street. There is one stoplight in the town. It is at that intersection, and it blinks yellow. That's all it does. And when you turn perpendicular to the highway and go down Main Street, it looks like freaking Disneyland, like Main Street Disneyland, like these little 1-story shops just line both sides of the street for about half a mile. And then that's basically it, the whole town. Yeah. Everything else is just houses.
That's Main Street, USA.
One of them was labeled the town hall, and it has the names of all of the town people. Like the mayor was listed right there, the secretary, the treasurer, all of it listed right there in gold lettering on the window. And they had a sign up taped on the inside of the window that said, City of Ashland closed for 4th of July. Just it. The whole city.
The city is closed.
The city is closed. Not City Hall, not dysfunction, the whole city. Both of my children participated in the parade because there was no requirement to participate in the parade. My father-in-law has his father's 1960-something like Dodge Plymouth convertible. I don't even know if that's the right car.
Oh.
But it's like an old-school, awesome convertible.
Yeah, it looked like a Ford Fairlane.
It looked like the car that JFK got shot in. Okay, that's the kind of car. And so my son
That was a Cadillac limousine, but yeah.
Well, different car then. But it looked like that. And my son sat up on the back of it with the top down, waving like he was the president of the United States. I was waiting for him to get taken out.
The selfie you sent me from in that car.
My father-in-law also has a golf cart. And so they're like, they put an American flag on the golf cart and stacked 3 of the kids on there. And like, we're driving the golf cart through the parade. There was more people in the 4th of July parade than there were people watching the 4th of July parade.
Were you in the 4th of July parade, Josh?
I was not in the parade. I had to cheer and take pictures. I was one of like 8 people on the sideline cheering my kids driving by.
I hope you had some shade and a chair.
I did not have a chair. It didn't last that long. But I mean, it was awesome, and my kids had a blast. And then we went straight from the parade. All right, I'm skipping all the things. Before the parade even happened, we had to have the Firecracker 5K, the City of Ashland Firecracker 5K for the 4th of July.
They really did pull out all the stops. If you're going to close the city.
It was at 6 a.m., and we showed up at the high school at 6 a.m., and then the guy didn't even have a bullhorn, didn't even have a podium, just started shouting at everyone, okay, everybody, we're going to get started. Before we do, I just want to thank everyone for making this the largest 5K this town has ever had in its history. Ben, there was 130 people signed up for it.
Wow.
Ben, when I'm in a small town in the North Phoenix Valley area, and we have a 5K for Thanksgiving, and several thousand people show up for that every time. And I always think to myself, this is a nice, small community get-together thing. This is really cool.
Do you really think it's fair to compare Phoenix to Ashland, Kansas?
It's not.
Okay.
But this is the scale that I was trying to impart to my kids the entire time that we were there.
Got it. I'm sure they're making their own observations.
I'm sure they are, but I wanted to reinforce all of these lessons because my son's taking it all in. My daughter's 10 and she's flighty. Like she's like things got to be held in front of her face.
You're like, do you realize this is the entire town?
That the entire town showed up for this parade. So we did the Firecracker 5K, which ended at the firehouse, and they did firehouse pancake breakfast, which was for donations only. And we sat down and we had a flapjack. Like a good old-fashioned firehouse flapjack there at the end, which was, it was sweet. Everything was served on styrofoam plates and cups, and I just wanted to be the one.
What was your time?
The one leftist hippie holding things up like, hey, you know, these don't decompose for like 6 million years, right? And my time doesn't matter because I actually didn't run the 5K. There was a 5K and a 1.5-mile walk. And my daughter and my wife were going to walk the thing. My son didn't want to run, so he wanted to walk things. All right, screw it. I'm just going to hang out with my family. And so instead of doing 2 laps of the same course, I did 1 lap walking with them. And the prize for the 1.5-mile walk was not who did it fastest, but who got closest to the time they predicted they could walk 1.5 miles at the beginning.
It's like a bowling handicap at the small town bowling alley.
Yeah, it doesn't. You could be the slowest person there, but if you're the closest to the time that you predicted, then you win. Apparently, my wife got 3rd.
That's funny that they do that and give tiers. First place, second place, third place.
Here's the other thing that was weird about this 5K. It's just like the town. It's just people in the town. Okay. Here's another thing. Everybody knew my in-laws. Everybody, like everywhere we went, every single person walked up to them.
Why does this surprise you? Why?
And said hello to them by name. Because I hate people, Ben. And people kept coming up to our party like, oh, hi, Jake.
You're a logical person. You just described everything about this town that made it small. Of course they know your in-laws.
And of course they know my in-laws' kids, which is my wife. Like, oh, this must be Nicole. You must be Nicole's husband. Yep, sure am. That's me. Here I am. And
Josh,
I kept getting sucked into conversations, Ben.
I hate to break it to you, but if you ever came to any kind of engagement with my family like I've been trying to get you to do, you'd realize that you're small town famous.
I guess. Okay. Here's the weird thing about the 5K. Largest in the town's history, right? And 130 people. There's like hardly anybody there. But what's weird is there's still the same sort of people that show up to a 5K at every 5K. It doesn't matter if there's 20,000 people or 130. There's always going to be one guy in head to foot spandex with the tight running shorts and like the hyper colored shoes that's going to run a 5-minute mile. And you know he's going to run a 5-minute mile. He knows he's going to run a 5-minute mile. It's like, why are you here? Where did you get that stuff? We're in the middle of no place. Why are you at this Firecracker 5K trying to set a world record?
I love that you have identified that these kinds of events bring out certain tropes. I want to know if you have any others.
I don't. Off the top of my head, I don't. But like, I'll keep talking. I'll trip over 2 or 3 more. You can point them out for me.
Okay.
We also went to the fireworks stand after the flapjack thing. Then the parade happened. Then we had to go to. I'm going to tell the story first. We went to the fireworks stand because we want to buy some fireworks.
This is a touching piece of Americana. We should record this and play it on PBS.
What, all the things that happened?
Yeah.
Okay, so
the Independence Day celebration in Ashland, Kansas.
I went to the fireworks stand to buy fireworks, and I'm there looking at fireworks, and my son's looking at fireworks. And all right, so I was also there with people that grew up in this town and like staying at the same house. I bought some. I thought I bought some fun fireworks for the kids. I was wrong. People that grew up around fireworks bought all the correct fireworks for kids. I didn't know what I was purchasing.
Is Kansas one of those states where like they outlaw all the good ones and so you have to cross the border to Missouri to get the good ones and come back?
No. People from Missouri cross the border into Kansas to get the good ones.
Okay. Kansas is like Wyoming. It's where you can get the good ones.
Ben, I thought I was being a fun uncle by buying half a case of the little poppers that you buy, the little paper wrap things you throw them down and they pop. And then for my son who's 13, I bought some rockets. And they're just rockets. They look like the model rockets with things. You light them, they shoot up and they explode. Ooh, I thought I was being cool. until my brother-in-law showed up with one of the actual, looked like a professional grade mortar.
Yeah.
Like the tube that you set down and you put the balls down into it.
Man,
and like,
those are the best.
Holy crap, Ben. Like, multiple near deaths. It's fine. It's fine. Everybody's fine. We all survived. Everybody has all their fingers. Anyway, I'm at the fireworks stand. Let me tell the story.
Uh-huh.
And I'm browsing fireworks, and the guy who's running the stand goes, "Where are you from?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm visiting in-laws." "Which ones?" "Oh, these two that live down on Main Street." He's like, "Oh, yeah. Where are you from again?" "Well, I'm from Arizona." "Oh, doesn't their son live in Arizona?" Like, and like, guy like knew everything about this family, just complete random stranger. Now, I will say this. I said, "Oh, yeah, he did," and then he moved back, and like I was having a normal conversation with the guy. But when I was recapping this, because I couldn't believe how much everybody knows about everybody in this tiny town, when I was recapping this later in the day, my wife tripped over the opportunity and just said, "You had a great opportunity to make a great joke, and you missed it." I'm like, what? What happened? All right, Ben. So I was there that day wearing my low-key LGBTQ ally t-shirt, which I'm wearing now. It has colored dots on it. That's all it is. It's multiple dots that are different colors, right? It's low-key LGBTQ. And I did paint my nails for the week because I wanted to for me. And so I was there with my painted nails. And so my wife goes, "Well, obviously, what you should have said when the guy said, 'Oh, doesn't their son live in Arizona?' Your response should have been, 'Oh, yes, I'm his husband.'"
Why would that have even entered your mind?
I was so mad that I didn't think of that at the time because it didn't, and I didn't say that. But Ben, they would have been fighting that rumor for 6 months. It would have been hilarious. I could have turned this small town, like everybody knows everybody thing against them. It would have been so funny.
But that little interaction you were having with this stranger is also why he knows that kind of stuff. They go through this pattern of talking to someone and rehearsing all of these facts about where everyone is in the universe. And he's done that 8 times before, which is how he knew about you.
Well, I think the reason he was talking to me is because he didn't know who I was. And that was weird to him. Like, I got this weird, I don't know, maybe this is just me, maybe this is projecting, but I got a weird standoff vibe like, "You're not from around here. What are you doing in our town?"
Right. So where I was going with that, and what your wife was kind of suggesting, is that if you playfully introduce a little bit of chaos into their rural socialization ritual, it would have had some reverberations for quite some time.
And it could have been a lot of fun. I didn't, unfortunately. Anyway, after the fireworks stand, we had to go to the town turtle race, Ben.
What?
The turtle race. Unbeknownst to me, but like I hadn't processed it. Everybody in the town had spent the week prior capturing wild turtles wherever they could find them, just out in Kansas somewhere. Okay, my mother-in-law had kept 2 wild turtles on her enclosed back porch for a week, feeding them. Ben, she was feeding them hot dogs. Okay, I don't know why that she thought hot dogs were the appropriate food for the turtles. Like, oh well, they're eating them. I'm like, yeah, hunger's the best sauce. You're turning them into cannibals. So, but we took these 2 turtles and we took them to the turtle race. I'm like, oh, this is going to be like a small thing. She goes, "We don't do anything small." Ben, the whole town was there. The whole town just walked from the parade over to the grade school where they already had the ground chalked out for the race course.
I feel like I'm turning into you, but how is this real life?
This is why the whole week was surreal with this kind of stuff. We walked up, we stood in line behind a fire truck because of course it's the fire department that's running this thing. And when we got to the front, the 2 youngest people in our party, we registered their names and we stuck 2 little stickers with numbers on the backs of these turtles. Like, okay, you're number 217, you're number 216 or whatever, and those are your turtles. They put all the turtles in the middle of this field and they marked out a line that was 10 yards away from the center.
So it's a bullseye, and the race is reverse bullseye, basically?
The race is whichever turtle leaves the circle first.
Huh.
And so they had I
like it. So you can't go, there's no wrong path.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not an obstacle course for turtles. It's which turtle wants to get away from this pile of other turtles the most. And I've got a great video of Ben, the entire town losing their minds when the firemen lifted up this little partition wall and all the turtles started scattering to the 5 winds simultaneously.
Were they fast?
They were faster than I thought they were going to be. Like, the whole thing was decided in, like, 90 seconds.
Okay. That sounds pretty cool.
It was really cool.
I've gone to, like, a small town, like, greased pig capture contest kind of thing. I've rescued watermelons out of ponds. I've been through some of these rural rituals.
Oh, but we walked from that ritual to another one. We had to walk down. We
keep them coming. What's next?
Across the street. I'm
having a great time.
They set up a snow cone stand, so you had to stop at the snow cone stand, and then you took 5 more steps, and you got to this street that they had blocked off both sides, like down the street. And the fire department just opened up one of the fire hydrants, flooded the whole street, and we had a rubber ducky race. And those I know about.
I've seen rubber duckies.
You've never. All right, so this one I've seen. They do this one, I think, in Chicago or something. And they take rubber duckies and you register them beforehand. Apparently, my mother-in-law had gone to the city hall and bought a ducky for all of the grandkids that were going to be there.
She'd been preparing for this thing for months.
Yeah.
Catching turtles, registering rubber duckies.
Yeah, turning turtles into zombies.
Did she loan her griddle for the pancake bake? Polishing their car for the parade? What else?
She said that usually they work at the walking lunch venue after the duck race that we went to. I'll talk about that in a second. But this year they didn't because she had all the family in town. Anyway, every one of the kids had a number registered to them. They take all these rubber ducks, they write the numbers on the bottom of these rubber ducks, and then there were thousands of these tiny rubber ducks. And
because it's going to a local charity or something?
Oh, no, it's a cash prize for the winner. Get out of here.
It's a raffle.
Yeah,
somebody gets the other half, though.
The
fire department.
I guess. I don't
to clean
know.
up the flooded street. How did they make the ducks go? I'm dying to find out.
Because the fire hydrant was still going. They never shut it off, and it was downhill and naturally draining that direction anyway.
Okay.
They blocked off the storm drains. They blocked off the side streets, and it was all flowing for like 3 blocks. They just dumped 6,000 tiny rubber ducks into the blast from this fire hydrant, and then everybody just got to watch these ducks go.
What was going through your mind?
The whole time?
No, at the moment when they're dumping the ducks.
Man, okay. Can we save that one for later? What was going through Josh's mind?
Okay, go ahead.
Let's save that for later. We'll come back to it. Okay, after the rubber ducks, I'm like, man, this has already been a day full of fun and adventure. What could possibly be next? Ben, what came next was walking tacos. Okay?
I can't believe you've never done this before. You've been married for, 15 years?
I've been, how long have I been married? Yes, 15-ish years.
And this is the first time?
This is the first time we were in rural Kansas for the 4th of July. I had always heard stories about how they go hard for the 4th of July, but This is the year we decided we're going to see how hard they can go.
So from the ducks, you go to?
Walking tacos. Okay, the whole town, all right, everybody's going to be hungry, so we're going to have tacos. Everybody walk down Main Street to the end of Main Street where we have the old Christian summer camp, and we're gonna open up the mess hall, and we're going to make walking tacos. I have no idea what walking tacos were, but Ben, I'm from the Southwest. I'm all about tacos.
Right.
My favorite, and we embraced the walking part, like where some people drove and then parked in the parking lot. No, we're walking for our walking tacos. And the best part was when, to my wife's chagrin, I had my son and my daughter chanting with me, "Waco tacos, Waco tacos," as we're going down the street trying to get our tacos. Like you do as a dad,
this is
right?
Great. You just all in for this small town.
Yeah, that's it. Like
nanny.
That's on the shelf. Let's going through Josh's mind. We'll talk about that later. Okay. So it turns out a walking taco is any kind of a air quotes Mexican-y food that you can eat while you're walking. You don't have to sit to eat this thing, right?
Okay.
So we go into the mess hall. It's donation again. So I gave donation. I have no cash left, by the way. There's no cash left on my person. And I go up to the front, and I was like, I am here for the walking tacos. And they're like, great. You want Fritos or Doritos? It's like, Fritos. Why not? And they had taken a bag of Fritos, okay? Take the bag of Fritos, the little self-serve
like a little
bags.
single-serve
bag. Yeah, one of those. Now turn it sideways and cut what is now the top of the side off of it. And they opened it up like a shell. And you hold that in your hand. And then they took a big scoop of cooked
seasoned
ground beef, and they poured the ground beef on it, and then handed it to the next person in line. And she goes, "Would you like shredded cheese or nacho cheese?" And I was like, "Lady, you clearly don't know who I am. I want all of your nacho cheese, please." And so she poured a ton of nacho cheese into the thing, and we have all the other accoutrements over there, and they had what they thought was salsa. It was just chopped
tomatoes. Give the Nick Offerman answer.
And And so we got some lettuce, we got some tomatoes and some other accoutrement, and then we stuck a spoon in it, and that's it. That's our walking taco. It was a bag of Fritos.
How was it?
All right, so it was good. It was good. It satisfied my hunger.
Sounds like state fair food.
It was like, yeah, exactly. But their beef, okay. I will admit we were in beef country, and it was high quality ground beef, and it was very well done. But I don't think anybody in this town has heard of the word seasoning before. All right, I'm from the Southwest, Ben. If the meat that's coming out of my taco is not some color that God never intended it to be, it is not seasoned well enough.
I see.
And so
this was just kind of light brown ground beef.
Yes. The nacho cheese flavor overpowered everything. There was not a pepper. There was not a chili powder. There was not a Cajun seasoning in sight. There might have been some ground black pepper, but that was it. Which is fine. I was in the Midwest. I'm sure that they thought that was very seasoned.
What is the Midwest?
Shut up, Ben. The Midwest is a state of mind. It's like
okay.
Neverland. You just
right.
you know it when you're there. All right, after the walking tacos, we actually had the rest of the afternoon off because it got warm and nobody wanted to do anything. So we called it all off. And then we went to the town fireworks display that night. And they said, it'll take place at dusk. Well, dusk wasn't defined. Nobody had it on the schedule. Nobody advertised what dusk actually meant. And so it was just this. We got there an hour earlier than we thought we needed to be there. And this is the picture that I sent you. Half of the crew. There was 14 people and a dog in a house that was built for 4 hobbits. I'll talk about that later. And so there was a pickup truck, and everybody was in the back of the pickup truck, and then there was the convertible again, and some of us were in the convertible. And, okay, I will say this, Ben. I am 41 years old, and I have been over fireworks for probably 35 years of that, okay? The fireworks are like...
That's got to be too high of a number.
But come on. You go to a fireworks display, it's like, yeah, they do the same things. Sometimes they'll set it to music.
It does reach an age where it just feels like if you've seen one fireworks show, you've seen them all.
That's what I felt like going into this. Like, it was one of those things like, I'm here to have fun. I'm all in. But Ben, that was before I realized that there's fireworks and that there is sitting within the splash zone of fireworks.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a game changer. Okay?
This takes it to a new level just in proximity.
Yes. Okay. So
what we can't do in grandeur, we can do with danger.
When you can talk to the guy lighting off the fireworks with a slightly louder than conversational tone, it is a different experience. When they are going off directly over your noggin.
Did you get showered with debris?
There was a couple that cooked off a little early or didn't go high enough or whatever. And yeah, it was like, okay, that one was 3 feet from the car. Cool. Let me like get my arms ready to shield my daughter just in case the worst happens. But I mean, it was way cooler when you were sitting underneath the fireworks display.
That's nice to know that there's still ways to shake off the malaise and have something old become new and fresh again.
Ben, I like there was parts where my limbic system thought I was under attack. Like clearly
I'm feeling actual adrenaline here.
Yeah, that kind of thing. It was really cool. So if you're done with fireworks, I guess the moral of the story is just go be more dangerous with the fireworks, and then they're cooler again.
That is not a good moral.
Okay. That was one day of the 4 full days that I spent in rural Kansas. It was like the good with the bad. The good was all these cool, like close-knit community, real Americana type of stuff that felt good. The down was there was nothing to do. There was, and when I say nothing, I mean nothing. All of the other grown men that were in the house went golfing all 4 days that we were there.
I would have started playing Safari disc golf.
We do have there's a disc golf course randomly through the town. Some hippie opened a pizza shop years and years ago and put up disc golf holes randomly around. But
awesome. I would have played the heck out of that.
I forgot all my discs. I know. My son was disappointed too. They asked me the first day, hey, when's the last time you went golfing? And I had to look at them and say, the last time I went golfing was with you at your bachelor party, and I was awful. And they're like, oh, yeah, I remember that. And they never asked me to go golfing with them.
You just had to remind them.
We were in a town, or in a house, So again, it was
Hobbit house.
My wife says, "Hey, can we come out for the 4th of July? I think the kids will like it." Yeah, that'd be great. And then the whole family got a hold of that. I'm like, "Oh, we could totally come out too." And then somebody else was like, "Oh, we could totally make it to there." And somebody else like, "Yeah, we could totally come." And so there was way too many people in this house.
Yeah.
So it comes with all the little frustrations and like the grinding of the close edges. Like
everybody sharing the one bathroom.
There was thankfully 3 full bathrooms, so there was plenty of bathroom space, but there was not enough sleeping space. There was not enough like places for actual beds. There was we brought cots for our kids, and there was air mattresses everywhere, but there wasn't enough enclosed spaces, so my kids got to sleep in the hallway where there was constant foot traffic. Nobody went to bed until midnight, like every night we were there, so we're been sleep deprived the entire week.
That's when the best memories are made.
This was I said 14 people and a dog living in a house that was made for 4 hobbits. I have a couple of pictures where I can prove definitively that the ceilings are 6'6". Then I am 6'4". There was a couple of places
those shower heads must have hit you right in the navel.
Okay. Dang it. All right, here's another tangent. Yes. When I got into the shower, I only had 1 inch of clearance.
Yeah, because the tub is raised up off the subfloor. Yes.
So it was I was stooping the whole weekend. But the shower wasn't a fixed head. It was one of those magnetized ones with a handle. I could grab it, pull it off, and like hose myself down kind of thing. Ben, if I didn't have that, I would have smelled like a horse the entire time that I was there. That thing convinced me of its utility so much. I'm going to bring one to Vegas next year. And at the risk of losing our deposit in the hotel room, I'm going to take off the shower head and I'm going to put on one of the little handle shower heads. That way I can have a halfway decent shower in Vegas next year.
I don't think I'm being facetious or even rose-colored glasses-y when I say these are the times when you build those family memories that are the ties that bind you together.
Okay.
A decade from now, they'll say, remember that one summer when we all went to Mom and Dad's house in Kansas for the 4th of July? All the memories about being too crowded and bored will fade away, and you'll just remember the good times.
So let's go back to that shelf where I was putting stuff like, what was Josh thinking the whole time?
Yeah.
And so, Ben, this is what Josh was thinking the whole time. It's that quote from Avatar 2, The Way of Water, that I have blatantly stolen and put it into my wise sayings category.
Go ahead. I didn't watch that movie.
If you can't get out of it, might as well get into it.
There you go.
So, yeah, I knew that this is what was going to happen. I knew that I was going to get out of it, whatever I put into it. And so I jumped in with both feet. I'm like,
so you're running down the street chanting Taco Waka or
Waco tacos, Waco tacos.
You're cheering for rubber ducks and turtles and
just going
almost
nuts.
Getting blown up by fireworks.
Almost getting run over by a horse when a kid on the back of a golf cart threw me Tootsie Rolls in the parade and I ran out into the street to get them. Yeah, all of the things. But so the entire time that I was there, I was just 100% focused on, I'm going to make this a super fun experience and I'm going to suck my kids into it whether they want to or not.
Awesome.
And there's always this little voice in the back of my head, and that was real Josh. Real Josh got shoved into a bag and put into the closet. And every few hours he would bust out and be like, this is the worst ever. We're like, we know, shut up. Just stay in there for another couple of days. Yep. Just stay in the circle of sadness.
Can't get out of it, you might as well get into it.
Can't get out of it, might as well get into it. And so yesterday, the day we left, woke up and knew, okay, we've got to get on the road. It's these opposite motivations, right? We need to leave like right now because we have a 15-hour drive. Now, we did break it up into 2 days worth of driving, so it wasn't hellacious like it was the first day driving out there. But
and you get 2 hours back.
And you get 2 hours back. Stupid daylight savings time. But so I am motivated. Like I need to get everything in the car as efficiently and as fast as possible so we can get out of here and get on the road. But I knew that we are leaving this small town where my wife grew up and she's with her family and she's not going to want to leave. And so the last thing I want to do is push her and be the jerk that's saying, we got to go. So screw your parents. We're out of here.
Yeah. But there's something that comes over a man. I've seen this multiple times this summer, like with my brother-in-law visiting from Chicago or my sister visiting from South Carolina or my brother going back to his house 2 hours away from here. You see this thing come over his face where he stops having fun and his mind goes home. And now he's got to figure out how to gather all of his belongings and people and get them there.
And I woke up yesterday morning and my mind was not, I'm here in Ashland, I'm going to enjoy my last couple of hours. My mind was, here is the checklist of things that have to be accomplished before the sun goes down today.
definitely.
And so, and kudos to my wife, who extends me all the grace in the world. And I love her so much for things like this. She knew that my batteries were running low and that my masking was running a little thin.
She also appreciated how much you got into it.
I hope she does. All right. So it turned out great. It was a wonderful week. And
nice.
Like, we had a wonderful time in rural small town Ashland, Kansas. And kids, if you're listening to this podcast episode in the future, I hope you enjoyed it, because it's going to be a long time before we go back.
And nothing eventful happened on the drive either way.
Oh, the drive. Let's talk about the drive for a second, because nothing like a great
I'm driving
American road
2,000
trip.
miles in a week. No big deal.
All right. So I don't know how it is in your family, but I'm the driver, right? Like, I drive.
Yes, same.
And this is a service that I can provide. My wife can drive. She can drive. And I it's not that I don't want her to drive. It's not that I wouldn't enjoy relaxing instead of driving.
You're the default driver.
I'm the default driver, and this is one of those things that I can do to make her life a little better, and so I'm going to do it. And so I'll drive, and she's an excellent co-pilot, and she does. We have a system, and it's great, and it all works out. But like, driving 1,000 miles, Ben, is hard. And like, doing that first day, okay, I want to say this. I don't know what they put into energy drinks, but this has got to be the closest thing to magic or alchemy that we have in the modern day. Because I was feeling sleepy. And this I know this about myself, that like, long drive, I woke up really stupid early. I'm going to need something to keep me awake, and coffee's not going to get me there. And so you've got coffee's like weird cousin that's on drugs, and that is these energy drinks.
What's your poison of preference with energy drinks?
The OG. I'm too chicken to try those
Red Bull?
Big 24-ounce like monster cans or whatever. No, I just the old school original 8.5 fluid ounce Red Bull that has all the chemicals that you can't pronounce in it. But like, I'm like falling asleep, eyes droopy, like all the physical feelings that you get when you just want to like curl up.
And then you drink a magic potion, like something out of D&D.
Yes, you drink a potion and you can feel your stamina meter refilling. Like, I know my body is still tired, and I know I'm still on 4 hours of sleep, but I feel like I can go for the next week.
I kind of like that.
That's doing something to us. That's some kind of Faustian bargain. I feel like I got like those 6 hours of wakefulness. I think I stole from the end of my life, is how that worked.
Yeah.
So that's the energy drinks. Like,
okay, but you didn't fall asleep and drift off the road, so everything else was uneventful.
Okay, well, on the way there, we did kind of, sort of, almost get killed by an RV.
What?
Well, there's this. You know how it is on the 2-lane highways where I just want to set my cruise control at 5 over the speed limit, closer to 10, and just go. But everybody has to be in my way, and then this RV wants to pass this truck going 1 mile an hour faster than the stupid truck is going.
So it takes 10 miles to get past
it takes what feels like forever. In the grand scheme of things, it's nothing. It's a blip in your life, but who cares? So I'm behind this RV, and I'm like, this guy, I'm going to, you know how it is. Like, if you're walking on the side, I'm like, oh, no problem. Old man, take the time that you need. Be safe. But when you're driving, it's like, I will murder this guy and everyone in his entire family line if he doesn't get out of my way in the next 15 seconds.
Do you have adaptive cruise control?
Yeah, I do have adaptive cruise control.
Okay, does it bother you when it's adapting?
No, but it's bothering me when he is going 7 miles an hour slower than the speed limit, and I was previously making great time. I've got 1,000 miles to drive, Ben. Like, every 5 miles per hour counts. So anyway, he gets past this truck, and he merges over into the right lane like he's supposed to. Thank you, finally. And then I floor it like you do when you're frustrated and done and just want to be past this jerk. And so I'm now going 90-ish miles an hour. When he decides, like, oh, I don't want to be in this lane, I want to be back in the other lane, for whatever reason. Like, and he was only over there for a second. In his mind, I know what happened in his mind, is that he finished merging and went, oh, I got to get back in the other lane, and then put his blinker back on and started coming back over without checking, even though I'm halfway past him already. Yeah. And so he doesn't see me, but he's merging over anyway. And I don't know why this is, but my default is driving safe first and horn and flipping off the guy later. My wife is backwards. My wife wants to make sure that the injustice is known before the safety is established.
So we can react later. Right now, they need to know how unhappy I am about the situation.
And so I spent that half a second like, oh, we might die here in the next half a second. And so I got all the way onto the shoulder of the road, one tire like half the tire off into the grass and like
hitting the wake up line.
Oh no, I went no. That was on my drivetrain, like under the center of my car. That's how far off the road I had to get because this guy was going to take me out. And a slam on the gas to get in front of him because I'm not slamming on my brakes to get rear-ended. So then we get finally he like almost takes us off the road. We cruise around in front of him, and that's when I was like, okay, is everybody okay? Okay, cool. We didn't die. Hey, Nicole, would you flip him off for me, please?
I'd like to file a memo with the driver of that RV back there.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is when I want the Harry Potter letters. I write this letter that conveys my tone of voice, and it will magically deliver it in my tone to that person, please. All right. Then that was on the way there, and on the way back. This is the last road trip story I'll give you. I promise. We're you know how you're on GPS for like 10 hours and it's like, oh, you're going to be there by this time. And all of a sudden you hear a ding and you look and that time has increased by 30 minutes.
Yes.
And a section of your route has turned blood red.
Like,
no, why?
That's usually when there's an accident or something unscheduled or unprepared for.
Yeah, something was happening. And so there was some traffic and then we got rerouted. Like, oh, it's 10 minutes faster if you get off the freeway, go through the town and then remerge like a jackass onto the freeway that you just got off of. And so we totally did that. But here's the thing about this. Like, it added a full 30 minutes to our trip. Like, hands down, no ifs, ands, or buts. Like, we were delayed 30 minutes because of this bumper-to-bumper traffic that lasted for probably 20 or 30 miles.
Right.
And we were averaging 3 miles an hour, both lanes, just bumper-to-bumper. Everybody doing in everybody's credit, nobody was being a jerk. Everybody was just doing the thing. We're like, nobody's going anywhere. Nobody's driving on the shoulder. We're all just going to get there together kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, I thought out loud, like, what is causing this? As we're getting closer and closer to the front, and I look at the GPS, I was like, oh, there's construction, like, at the very end of it, and then it clears up and you're fine. Like, okay, so they must crunch down to one lane at some point. At some point, right? Right? So we're driving, and we're in the right lane. All of a sudden, we see the signs that come by. The orange signs are like, oh, left lane ends, merge left. Like, construction, we closed the lane, it's down to one lane. Oh, okay, great, cool. So everybody starts doing the thing, and dude, kudos to everybody that was driving on the I-17 southbound today because everybody merged over and zippered exactly the way you're supposed to. Like, we hardly even slowed down. Everybody just kind of made the room. Nobody tried to abuse it. Nobody tried to jump to the front of the lane before it ended. And everybody merged over into one lane. And then the other lane was open and just kept being open. And we drove like this in one lane for probably 2 miles, Ben. Until somebody realized there's no construction here. These lanes don't converge. And then people started darting out in the other lane, and then it was every man for himself again.
Yeah.
And there was no lane.
Your whole life is a lie. How do you trust an orange sign ever again?
Ben, there was a 30-minute backup. There was tens of miles of bumper-to-bumper barely moving traffic because somebody left up a sign that said lane ends, merge right, and it never ended.
It was the 4th of July. What do you expect them to do? Finish their job?
All I can imagine is this is a sitcom somewhere where I'm screaming about it on a podcast and then it jump cuts to a dude sitting in a double wide trailer. I wonder if I took that sign down.
I don't know, Josh. I get a little bit of schadenfreude out of moments like this because you're such a rules guy. And you portrayed that whole scene in terms of obeying the rules and the social contract and cooperation and stuff. And then it gives way to just the chaos that comes when people don't uphold their end of the bargain. And what's your takeaway?
What's my takeaway? My takeaway is that some idiot didn't take down a sign and stole countless thousands of man-hours from the entire population of Arizona today.
30 minutes times however many people were in that 20-mile line of traffic.
And here's the thing. That pop-up, when I said it popped up and it's adding 30 minutes to my drive, Ben, I knew about that 150 miles before I got there. It was there all day.
Do you know the European method for construction going to one lane?
I think you've told me this before. It's like required to go. You're supposed to go all the way until the lane ends, and that's where you zipper, right?
Yes, go all the way to where the lane ends, and that's where you zipper. So in Europe, this traffic jam wouldn't even have happened if they'd even would have left the signs up.
Oh,
which they
wow.
probably wouldn't
You're
have.
right. Because they would have kept going in that lane until the last possible second, but there was no last possible second. They just would have kept driving.
Never would have happened.
You see, there are some things that other countries get right, and driving is one of those. I think the only thing that the America has contributed to driving is turning right on a red light. That's the only thing we've contributed.
Europeans come to America and they're like, "Oh, love the right turn on red."
Yeah, but other
you
countries
can't right turn on red in Europe. Not because it's against the law, but the infrastructure is different. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, that's not a thing. They
Visibility isn't good enough.
Yeah. But the zipper, nobody respects the zipper in America. Traffic circles, we have no idea how traffic circles work. It's just every man for himself. Horns.
We'll get it eventually.
You are not allowed to use your horn in America unless you're ready to draw a gun on the other driver. I think that's the rule.
All right. Was that it? Is that the end of the epic road trip?
I just got back today. I got back an hour before we started recording it. We are recording a day late because of
Listeners, this is Josh's commitment to the podcast. This is why we've maintained this streak.
Listeners, this is a school night we are recording on for your benefit. I hope you recognize the sacrifice two old men are making for you.
Speaking of streaks, did they have good enough Wi-Fi in Kansas to keep up your TikTok streak?
You. Okay. So let's talk about loss aversion for a second, Ben.
Okay.
Ben's reading my show notes, everybody, and doing the thing that he does, which is make the podcast actually flow like it's a planned out show or something. And it's my TikTok, my streak. Okay. Let's talk about this for a second because I actually lost my streak in Vegas.
Oh, really?
I did. And so let's talk about loss aversion for a second because TikTok does a thing where if you send a TikTok to a person that's one of your friends and that friend sends you a TikTok back, it does a little badge like, oh, you guys are on a streak. You've been sending each other a TikTok every day for this many days. And my wife and I have been sending each other TikToks every day for forever. Actually, I remember this because we were on a 24-day streak forever ago. I was like, hey, we were going to bed and like, hey, you need to send me a TikTok. She's like, why? Like, because I don't want to lose our streak. She's like, what are you talking about? Like, look, there's a little number next to our name of how many days we've been sending TikToks. And I'll tell you what, Ben, she made fun of me in the moment, but she never missed a day after that. But then we were in Vegas, and I remember
it's a 21st century romantic gesture.
There's a bunch of TikToks about how to a married couple, if you don't send each other 67 TikToks a day, are you even married kind of thing. But I was in Vegas and I opened TikTok on Sunday at some like 5-second pause that we had in all of our kerfuffle of a weekend and realized that I had never sent her a TikTok on Saturday.
No. Nicole, I'm sorry.
I missed a day, Ben. We had a 190 plus day streak. That is 6 months, I'll have you know. We had sent each other a loving TikTok that we thought the other person would find funny every day for 6 months. And then I blew it because I was having too much fun with you. And right now,
I was having a moment of silence for your TikTok streak. Yeah, it's over.
We're back up to 16 days as of recording of this podcast.
I love it. It's like the meme of the blown over lawn chair. We will rebuild.
But that's... But here's the thing that I want to talk about for a second, because there was a moment when I realized that I didn't send her a TikTok and I lost a streak.
Did you have to mourn the loss of your streak?
I felt something real. Like I had actual
it was
loss.
tangible.
I had tangible loss aversion to a thing that on reflection is not real. If that number, if the algorithm, if TikTok, the people that made it, didn't put that number in there, I never would have known that I had lost it.
What was the equivalent of this 100 years ago? Was it just not possible? Have we created the ultimate Skinner box now? Or did when my grandfather went off to fight in World War II and him and my grandmother sent each other handwritten letters in the mail, they also had a streak going?
I mean, the mail delivery in World War II was so hit or miss for the first part of it. And then you got to talk about boats and the logistics. Like if your father or grandfather wrote a letter every week it wasn't going to show up spread out like that, like every week when on the receiving end.
They'd be evenly spaced.
I don't think I think probably would have showed up in batches. You don't think
she'd get like a batch of 3 all at once?
That's what I think would have happened. Like she'd get like 3 one week and then nothing for a month and then like 2 more.
As imperfect as that is, you still had a World War II equivalent of maintaining your streak.
Maintaining the streak. Is there an instance in history? I'm sure there is some letter scholar out there that can tell us. Is there an instance of history where the loving wife wrote a letter and then the next week wrote, "Hey, how come I haven't heard back from you, chick?"
You've broken your streak.
Yeah.
I bet whatever the expectations were, your basis for feeling like this is what a realistic expectation should be, I'm sure they were perceptive of the deviations.
Yes. Okay. I'll go with that. There is an expectation. That's the thing, is there was... okay, now we're drilling down to it. There is an expectation set of consistency of something, whether it's, in this case, content delivery or whatever. And it was the subversion of that expectation that made me feel the loss.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have known that if they hadn't have stuck it in my face. Like, they are weaponizing loss aversion against me. By putting that number on the TikTok, I told my wife, hey, get on this platform that monetizes your attention and send me something so I don't lose a fake number that they created.
Yeah, when you put it that way.
A little cynical.
Yeah.
I got more stuff. I got random
you still
things.
Had 2 more here.
I got random things. Let's see if they make the final cut. Okay. Have you heard this controversy? Everybody's up in arms about the Project Hail Mary trailer.
No, what's the controversy?
Okay, so this is a book by an author that we've reviewed. This is the guy that did The Martian and then
what's his first name?
Andy.
Peter. Andy?
I don't.
Peter's the director. Andy's the author. Andy Weir.
Weir.
Yes, in fact, one of our listeners has recommended this book, and I intend to read it before I watch the movie.
Okay. Have you seen the trailer yet?
I have. I think you sent it to me, but you didn't say anything about a controversy.
Oh, yeah. There's a huge
Ryan Gosling being a rando getting sent to outer space.
All right, we're not. Don't say any more about the trailer now because I don't want to be a part of this. But the trailer contains an enormous spoiler for the third act of this book.
It definitely does.
Yeah, and so people that have read the book are up in arms like, how are you going to put that in the trailer?
Yeah, good question.
And the answer is, if you watch the trailer up before that point, it just seems like kind of a boring, slow, slice of life sci-fi movie. It was like,
I don't know. Last Andy Weir book made into a movie called The Martian, I enjoyed the heck out of. They hooked me right away. Like, I'm in. I want to be part of this.
But they do that with the stakes, right? And there's something that's got to grab you and pull you. And in the case of The Martian, they had a bunch of cool scenes where it was like really important and like really hard, and like he's by himself, and we got to save him, yeah. And like there's something there. This one is Ryan Gosling being handsome, stuck in space somewhere, and like I guess they felt like that wasn't quite enough.
That wasn't enough.
Hey, go see this really highbrow sci-fi movie where Ryan Gosling is by himself in a tin can for most of the movie.
We're definitely in the age of where it feels like there's not enough editorial control by the director on what gets put in the trailer.
I think this is an attention span problem. I think I'm part of the problem with my TikTok brain because I was watching the trailer and be like, I would watch this movie, but I can also see if I called this trailer boring, you'd be entirely justified saying that. Right up until they spoiled the third act of the book.
Yeah. Well, I was hooked. I'm going to go see it anyway, and I also don't hold that kind of thing very dear, but I also take care not to spoil it here on the podcast.
Well, but at the same time, like both of us were turned off of the new Captain America movie with the Falcon as Captain America because they spoiled who the Red Hulk was going to be by having Harrison Ford's CGI face. Clearly, there's no doubt who this could be as like in the trailer. Like we knew what was going to happen. There was
that's definitely 2 strikes against whoever's making these trailer decisions.
All right, Hollywood, stop spoiling your movies. Like, wait.
Yeah, we talk about spoilers on this podcast a lot. I feel like we're gonna get to the root of this some point and have the 5 fundamental rules of like what constitutes a spoiler and when it's okay.
Ben, I just gave a spoiler warning for a trailer.
Eating around the edges of this thing.
I didn't want to talk about the trailer because it's got spoilers in it. Like we right. Clearly, I don't know. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
We're stating something we believe to be a plain and apparent fact that's independent, and yet somebody out there didn't know it and it made it through all of the mechanisms that have to happen in order for something to get made into a trailer.
Well, and it feels like the company that made the movie, the people, the artists that made the movie, lovingly crafted it from its source material, was a completely different company than the company that made the trailer.
Right. How did they not know this?
How are you unaware that this is you just ruined our piece of work, this thing that we lovingly crafted that's 90 however minutes long, and you blew the whole thing because you wanted to tell the same story and steal all our credit.
Shame. Walk 'em naked down the street. Ring a bell.
You haven't seen that show.
Shame.
Spoilers, by the way, for Game of Thrones. Did you watch?
I didn't say that. You did.
I know. Did you watch Game of Thrones? Did you?
Shame.
You just saw the memes, didn't you? You're referencing something you don't know the full context of. Say it. Admit it.
How can you not understand the context of that?
Because I'm positive you have not watched Game of Thrones. Okay, Ben, I've got last thing, and I swear I'll stop with my potpourri of nonsense. This is what happens when you put me in rural Kansas for a week. I've got a lot to talk about. I have a new trolley problem for you, Ben.
Oh, interesting. Go for it.
Okay. This is great. I love this one so much. I stopped the moment I heard it and started writing it in our show notes. Okay, so there's a trolley that is hurtling down the track, and it is going to kill one of these workers that is on the trolley, okay? You are standing at the switching station. You can pull a lever to switch this trolley, and the trolley will go to a different track and kill another worker. There's only one person on each of these tracks. Now, these facts are known to you. I don't know how, but they are. The first worker that's on the tracks, if you do nothing, he's the one that dies. In his back pocket is a finished signed suicide note, but it is in the handwriting of the second guy. Okay. Now, the second guy is wearing a shirt that says, "Please hit me with a trolley." But he borrowed that shirt from the first guy.
Okay. Sorry, my brain's taking a sec to get over the thing that you said about you just know this. You don't know how you know this. Okay, this is like one of those riddles about you're talking to two guys and one always tells the truth and one always lies. Right. I wouldn't figure it out in time. I would just whatever the default happens if I don't throw the switch is what's going to happen.
So he's the guy that has the suicide note that the second guy wrote in his pocket, but who owns a shirt that says "Please hit me with a trolley" that the second guy borrowed from him.
Maybe he's ironic.
Anyway, I don't know what the right answer is. I just wanted to present you with that.
Okay. Well, it's a bottomless well of interesting, thought-provoking, and sometimes stupid ideas. All right, Josh, I don't remember where I was, but I saw an ambulance. I was at a restaurant getting some takeout, and a couple of firefighters came in, and I was waiting for my food.
Hang on. Before anything else happens, like as soon as you said that, I was getting takeout and some firefighters showed up. The first thing that comes to my mind, Ben, and this is, I don't know if this is a comment on you or me, but firefighters come in. The first thing I can imagine is you dropping everything, literally dropping the food out of your hands, stepping forward and going, "How can I help?"
So the firefighters come in. They're hungry too. There's no emergency. And I noticed on their shirt, it said fire and rescue. And it said that on their truck outside as well. And I was thinking, I had some time. These are my shower thoughts. I'm like, what all does that encompass? Fire and rescue.
Who does the rescue apply to?
How small of a fire? How big of a fire? What exactly does rescue apply to? And I realized this is one of those jobs where it's virtually unbounded. So I was trying to imagine, how do you bound this thing that is fire and rescue?
Logistics, like whatever the truck has, like what percentage of this truck is dedicated to fire and what percentage is dedicated to rescue, and then you lower the threshold of both emergencies until it fits what you have available.
Okay, logistics is one factor. There's also a geographic circle. These guys represent a municipality. And that has geographic boundaries to it. Something outside of that boundaries, they're not going to do even if it falls within those other limitations, unless they're invited by the next municipality over.
That's the 3 or 4 alarm fires you hear about on TV all the time.
Is this anything that's on fire? Anything is within scope? Like,
so in Arizona, it's also interesting because you hear things that the fire departments do that you're not aware of, that not everybody knows that the fire departments
do. You get the rescuing cats out of trees.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of trees for that, but what our fire departments do is they will rescue animals or children out of locked cars.
Uh-huh.
And because of that, they will also unlock your car if you lock your keys in it. Like, you can call the fire department and be like, hey, non-emergency, I've locked my keys in my car.
Thank you for making my point.
Come and unlock my car for me.
So rescue now includes kind of like the locksmith Venn diagram.
A little bit.
Because in Arizona, maybe it's hazardous.
Well, yeah, exactly.
This is one of the limits. So you've got a logistics thing, like what do I have equipment that I could do and enough people to do? And then what is my circle on the map? And then what kind of things, if I don't do them, will someone take too big of a risk to do?
Okay.
Climb too high of a tree without the right ladders or safety precautions, stay too long inside of a locked car on a hot day, whatever it is. Then we need these guys to step in and override your risk taking because they're trained and have better equipment.
I'm not climbing a tree for a cat. Like, that's the end of that discussion.
So I heard this once about firefighters that they're not supposed to rescue pets out of buildings, but they do as a matter of policy because if they don't, humans will take risks that will put them in jeopardy that then will jeopardize the firefighters.
Yeah, because they have to save the human, even if the human's an idiot and goes running back into the building they just got rescued from.
So they have to rescue the pet because they're better equipped to rescue a pet than an unprotected other person.
I'm going to do the air quotes rescue because if I'm a firefighter, I'm on the 3rd floor of an apartment that's burning down and somebody's worried about their cat, I'm going to huck the cat out the window with no regard for the cat's safety. Because hey,
the cat's out of the building. Get out.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Josh, you'd make a terrible fire and rescue.
Everybody's alive, Ben. That's a win.
Yeah, but there's got to be some stuff that's out of scope, right? Like you pick up the phone, you're like, hello, fire department? Yeah, my homework, I forgot to do it and it's due in like 3 hours. What do I do? You know, they're not going to come to your house and do a selfie with you so you can send that to your teacher.
Oh,
Are they?
I've got a stupid story about this. Okay, good.
I've got a stupid story too.
All right. So a couple of years ago, this is the first year I was working at my new tax firm. They do a Christmas tree decorating contest. Like the firm buys everybody a 4-foot tall Christmas tree that you stick next to your desk or outside your office, and you are required to decorate it. And there is a contest that is judged by people that aren't in the firm.
Uh-huh.
And so during this time, one of our elderly employees had a bout of vertigo and like fell.
Oh.
And so we propped her up in a chair and we called, paramedics. She was very old and frail and we wanted to take care of her. And the fire department shows up. And so 5 strapping, manly
Did you have the
firefighters
judge the Christmas tree decorating contest?
I did not, but our office manager did.
That's awesome.
Oh, hey, while you're here are some ballots. Please judge our Christmas trees. You just expanded
one of my circles on this Venn diagram so much.
They took, I love telling
What are they rescuing you from in that case? We didn't have any judges for this contest. Whatever shall we do?
I love telling people this story because, the office manager is quick to jump in. They took care of her first. She was fine. They were waiting for an ambulance to transport her to the hospital.
Okay, I got to tell my fire and rescue story. First of all, caveat, all the glory in this story goes to my beautiful wife. When our 6th child was born, she went into labor at home by herself without a car and called me at work and says, come take me to the hospital.
I need a car.
I live 10 minutes away.
Wasn't there an Uber emergency at that point?
I ran to the car and drove home obeying traffic laws, sort of, and got there and ran into the house. And by the time I got home, she had already had the baby in our first floor half bath. And I go in and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's holding a baby still attached by the umbilical cord to the place where the umbilical cord goes. Yes. And she looks at me and says, I'm fine. The baby's fine. Go get the toddler out of the bathtub.
Oh. Oh.
So I run upstairs and my daughter's standing there blue-lipped and shivering. I throw a towel and a diaper on her and then run back downstairs to the wife and the newborn baby.
There's so much trauma to unpack here, but that's okay. Let's keep going.
So this is our 6th child. I'd failed to notice the pattern of the fact that every child's birth, labor, and delivery had halved, on a perfect geometric scale.
In the kindest, most dialed back phraseology that I can come up with at this time, your wife's physical processes had been getting more efficient each time.
Right, yeah.
You should have realized this.
Well, we both should have, but we failed to come up with a plan that accommodated the eventuality that the pattern was going to hold true for the 6th child, which it did.
You only have the 6 children, right?
She's sitting there on the floor, and by all intents and purposes, everything seems fine. We've been through this 5 times before. Baby seems fine, mama seems fine, but I know that I need to now cut the umbilical cord and deliver the placenta.
Yeah, there's a lot of blood that could be following this.
Right,
there's
exactly. This could potentially be a life-threatening emergency. It isn't yet. So, and it kind of falls on me. My wife's done the hard part. Now she's there and immobile, and I need to help. So I'm like, okay, I think we need to tie something around the umbilical cord so that when I cut it, it won't bleed all over the place. So I went on a scavenger hunt. And you know how it is. You can never find a pair of scissors when you need one.
I immediately... Okay, we've talked about this before. I have a pair of scissors in every room in my house, number 1. And
it's
2,
because you're preparing for this.
I know where there are 3 piles of zip ties right now.
Yeah. So I found some kite string and a pair of snub-nosed preschool safety scissors.
Those can't cut construction paper, Ben. You're not going to cut like connective tissue with that.
And I go into the bathroom and I'm kind of like, maybe if I could get some advice from a qualified medical professional before I undertake this medical procedure.
What was telehealth the thing? Could you get one on Zoom?
I dialed 911.
Okay.
I think this is the part I left out of the story last time I told you. I dialed 911 and the operator answers and I kind of give him a quick rundown of the situation. And I'm like, so what do I do now? And they're like, paramedics are on the way, and I'm like, I was just hoping you could tell me how to cut the cord. I don't know why I thought that. It was an emergency. I panicked.
That's one of those things where your brain shuts down. You're expecting one thing to happen. And when that doesn't happen, it throws you off your game and you're not sure what's supposed to do next.
Looking back on it, of course, it's dialing 911 is not a medical advice line, any more than they're going to tell you how to land an airplane.
But at the same time, that is still the correct phone number to call in this circumstance. The fact that it was the fourth thing that you did blows my mind.
I may have done it earlier. I may be getting these events out of order, so give me some grace on that one.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, fine, and I hang up the call, and I'm like, they're probably going to send someone. I should have known there was no other outcome possible. But I'm like, I'm not going to wait for him to get here to do this because everything's fine. Let's try this. So I tie off the umbilical cord with the kite string, and I cut it with the safety scissors, which was surprisingly easy. Cutting through human flesh is kind of disconcerting that way. When you're actually trying to do it, it's quite easy. If a placenta counts as human flesh. Anyway, so now I have detached baby. I wrap her in a blanket. She's showing APGAR score of 10. Like pink, breathing, moving, reacting, happy. Everything's fine. Mom is fine. I'm like, okay. And I go set the baby down like on the floor where I can still see her. The dripping wet toddler's watching her.
There's a lot to unpack there, but yes.
And I'm like, we need to deliver the placenta. So I kind of give a soft tug and it doesn't resist much and it comes out and there it is. And there's not a lot of extra blood and everything's okay. So we put a robe on my wife and bring her out and set her down. And I've got the newborn baby. And then there's a knock on the door.
Yeah, this must be the medical professionals that you.
It's the paramedics.
Yeah.
So they come in the house and the door on the bathroom where I delivered the baby is closed. So the blood on the floor is like out of sight and stuff like that. And for all intents and purposes, it looks like I called 911 for no reason. I'm holding a perfectly healthy, well-breathing baby.
16-second-year-old baby.
Right. And my wife is perfectly fine and everything's fine. And the paramedics come in and part of me is really apologetic about the fact that I called 911.
I can see that. I've been in situations like that where you need medical attention and you're like, listen, I thank you for coming, but it's like, stop making such a big fuss.
Yeah, exactly. So they come in and they're kind of like, hey, and I'm like, yeah, it was me that called. They're like, there was something about childbirth. I'm like, yeah, here she is. Everybody's okay. Sorry I made you come all this way. And the guy, to his credit, put his hand on my shoulder and he says, it's okay, man. This is the most legitimate call we've had in a week.
That's the best thing he could have said to you. Like
I know.
He knew exactly what you were feeling in that moment. It was like, I'm kind of embarrassed to use these emergency services. Those aren't for me. Those are for people that have real emergencies.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. So fire and rescue includes everything. I was thinking about other things that fall in the cracks in our society that we have to do. You know, just stuff that we need people that either have the right equipment or the right training or just are like the catch-all people. Like who cleans up roadkill off the road?
That's a job at the Department of Transportation, right? There's a guy who goes around scraping that.
What about who does the landscaping on abandoned properties?
Nobody.
Oh.
They're abandoned.
Sometimes the city does it. Like, why? I don't know. Who picks up trash off of the roadways and off our city streets? Kind of
prisoners. Arizona, that's prisoners.
The guys in the orange suits. I know that one. Who feeds the homeless? Like, some places that's a well-defined job. Some places it isn't. I did it for a while in Florida.
One guy during COVID, which you shouldn't have done.
You know, who gets gum off the sidewalk? Like there's maybe nobody that does that.
Nobody.
Who handles disaster situations? Like when it's time, we've got 8 hours to set up a sandbag wall. There
are people for that. And
not enough.
Did you do this on purpose? Because like this past 2 days ago.
Yes, in Texas.
Yeah, there's the Texas tragedy that happened where so it's coming out now. This is the latest I know. It could change by the time this comes out. Apologies if I have this wrong. But at first, the Texas state government was trying to blame the National Weather Service for not warning them.
Yep.
Then the National Weather Service came out and said, you can't throw us under that bus. Here's all our receipts. We've done all the testing. We told you that there was going to be problems. But when we called the number that we've called every other time, and there was a person whose job it is to coordinate state action in emergencies like this, there was nobody sitting at that desk when we called.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. We went to a very sober place, but yes. So I was trying to define all the criteria of why the police and the firefighters end up playing kind of cleanup in our society. They're the ones scraping roadkill off the road and doing wellness checks for some elderly person that everyone else has forgotten.
Got it. Okay. I actually I'm gonna keep it sober. Because this was a soundbite that got converted from its original meaning into a completely opposite one. If you've ever heard the term defund the police, like people took that as like, oh, you just want to take the police department's budget away. You don't want to have police. You want to have a lawless society. And the answer was no. We don't want the police to have to do all of these extra things that they are doing. We don't want them to be like on-scene counselors during a domestic dispute. We don't want them to be the ones that are scraping the roadkill off the road because we got nobody else to do it. We don't want to fund these functions to the police. We don't want to just like, hey, here's some extra funding. Also do all these other things that you're not trained to do.
Yeah. So I tried to make a list. Here's the 6 things I think that characterizes these kinds of jobs, why they tend to fall on firefighters and police. You know, law enforcement and rescue.
Okay.
1, it's not big enough to be its own job. Like you said about how some towns in Kansas aren't big enough to have their own high school. It's just, it falls on them because it's in any given year that doesn't happen enough times to justify paying one person to be their full-time job.
Okay.
2, it comes in sudden bursts and any one profession doesn't have enough people to deal with it. Like we've got 8 hours to build a sandbag wall right here. We need every available hand to come help fill sandbags and stack them up. We can't have enough people on retainer to have that surge capacity.
Firefighters are already on call. They're ready to go. They're physically capable specimens of manliness. So might as well call them up to fill sandbags.
Sometimes I think it falls on these guys because it's gross. Like, that's it. I don't know any other reason. It's just, you got to do this thing that's gross. Sometimes it's because it's optional. Like, yeah, I don't have to do this thing, but somebody wants it done, and so it falls on someone else. Maybe it's new, something we hadn't thought of before, and now somebody needs to do it, and so it falls on our catch-all people that do these things. And lastly, it's dangerous, either because of training, physical capacity, or equipment. We need people that are qualified to do this dangerous thing.
Okay.
So those are my 6 reasons why this is my pondering in the restaurant.
Yeah,
why,
this is your shower thought. Like, you see, I have shower thoughts. I don't create checklists and like bullet points and PowerPoint presentations.
I was like, why is it like this?
Man, your brain went down that rabbit hole deep. Like, did they like get their food and leave? Was your food cold? Between bites by the time you were done having the shower thought? Did somebody come up to you like, sir, we're closing. Can you please leave?
Excuse me, do you know anything about what to do with delivering a baby?
Did you talk to these fire and rescue guys at all? You just saw the fire and rescue and your brain just decided to take a holiday.
Just saw them and thought about what it means.
Okay. All right.
All right, what are you reading right now, Josh?
Ooh, so I've not been reading much this past week for reasons, but right now I am working my way through then my Audible credits renewed, and so I had a moment where I had to decide, am I going to spend this Audible credit and get a new author to help fill out my New Year's bingo card to read new authors this year, or read one of the nonfiction books that Ben has queued up for me so we can talk about on the podcast? Or am I going to finish up with the Dresden Files? Because I know there's only one book left in the series that's available right now.
Oh, I'm going to use this later. I love it. Thank you for teeing that up for me. Go ahead.
So yeah, I got the last novel that's completed and in Audible. It's called Battleground, and it's
so he's still writing these.
I think he's still writing these. I think he's got a lot. What I'm seeing lately is that when you go to Audible and you go like, okay, what's the next one in the series? And it gives you that list of series. There's a lot of 0.5s, and I'm starting to see some spin-offs, like some other characters taking main stage. So I'm not sure if he's going to keep going with our main protagonist here, because I think I mentioned in a previous podcast, like, this D&D campaign has gone on too long. We need to wrap this guy up, and he needs to like ride off into the sunset and like pass the torch to somebody that's got lower stakes.
I've never followed a contemporary author closely enough that I'm like waiting with bated breath on their next book. Maybe Tom Clancy when he was doing the Jack Ryan thing back in the early 90s. But probably the closest I've been was when J.K. Rowling, when Harry Potter Mania took up before she'd finished the 7 years of primary school for the Harry Potter kids. And people were waiting on the next book to come out and having midnight bookstore parties and stuff.
Which is ridiculous because Harry Potter is objectively bad fiction for so many reasons.
I need to make a prediction. Here on the Bad at Magic podcast, we have not yet delved into the Harry Potter intellectual property, and it has to happen at some point in time. So just prepare yourself.
My family is currently watching all of the Harry Potter films in chronological order because my kids have never seen them all in chronological order. And they're just bad. They're just bad.
Get it out of your system now, because it's boring if you just say that for an entire episode of Bad at Magic.
Oh, Ben, I own a thesaurus. I can say it's bad 6,000 ways. Don't worry. We won't run out of content for Harry Potter is bad. I promise.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so Jim Butcher.
Yeah, Jim Butcher. I'm reading Battleground. It's a Dresden File. They're like a Titan. A Greek Titan enslaved the merfolk, from what I can tell, and they are at war with Chicago. Like, this Titan is going to just obliterate the city of Chicago. And this has gotten to the point where the layperson, like, normally it's like, oh, we all do this in the shadows, in the background, because if the Muggles found out about all the vampires and werewolves, then they would turn the military complex on us and wipe us out. It's been bad. This is how the Inquisition started, kind of thing. And this is like all bets are off. Like, this wizard is slinging spells next to random civilians holding shotguns, like in the streets. It's just open war in Chicago, and there is nowhere we can go after this. Okay, this guy needs to retire. That, like, end of discussion.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's what happened to Robert Jordan at the end of the Wheel of Time. That like he wasn't accelerating towards the finale, and he had to die so that someone else could finalize his epic fantasy for him.
Okay, you're wrong and you're right, which is weird, and kudos to you for being wrong and right. But if you go on any forums or talk to anybody that's read the series as much as I have, people will talk about the story inertia that happens in like books 8, 9, and 10. Yeah. Like everything slows down, and it feels like we can't get anything moving forward. We're stuck in this place where we're at. And okay, he didn't have to die to finish the book. He had the books like outlined, ready. Like he knew how it was going to end. He had the whole thing written up. He even had whole scenes written verbatim by the time that he died and handed over to Brandon Sanderson. But he may have needed some help like wrapping it up, because the first book that Brandon Sanderson takes over, in the prologue, Brandon's like, okay, here's all the loose threads that we're all worried about that do not matter to the last 3 books of the plot, so we're going to cut them right here and now.
Completely different note. My sister on her podcast has been reviewing all of the television series in the early 2000s, Smallville. Backs, the made for WB Network teenage drama version of Superman in Smallville, Kansas. And it suffers from the same problem. Like Lex and Clark Kent went to high school together and they were friends. And at some point they've got to transform from being chummy buddies in high school to arch enemies. And yet you want to stretch this over the course of 5 or 6 seasons of television, and it just moves so slow.
That's funny. I happened to be in Smallville, Kansas for a whole week. And I couldn't help but think about Superman. And I had this shower thought one day. I want to know who Clark Kent voted for. Like, obviously, Superman's not a registered voter in the United States of America, but Clark Kent, growing up in Smallville, Kansas, then he's got to be conservative as all get out.
You texted me that, and it was very appropriate. All right. I'm reading... I don't know how this one ended up on my list, but I just read... I enjoy a good memoir every now and then, and you and I had been talking about him, and up popped in my Audible suggested list a memoir by Colin Jost from Saturday Night Live called A Very Punchable Face. And it just has a portrait of him on the front of the book. And you look at it and you read the title and you're like, yep.
Yep, that's a punchable face.
That's a very punchable face. And he begins immediately by establishing that premise of how many times he's been punched in the face for no good reason other than it looks like you should.
Dude, I will forever love Colin Jost because he married Scarlett Johansson.
Right?
Who is so far out of his league, it's insane. And he's given interviews about it, but he shot his shot and he got it. Like, it's just, it's tale as old as time. He's the guy that you point at as like, kid, you go up to that varsity cheerleader and you ask her to the prom because you never know.
Yeah. No arguments. He this isn't what the book's about, but he kind of mentions it offhandedly in there. So, first of all, on a meta level, he's doing something I really admired. There's a lot of people out there that had a bunch of pent up creative energy that were this is the fraud triangle. He had the motive and he had the rationalization. He was waiting for the opportunity, and COVID was the opportunity. It gave these people with this lingering, idling creative idea that just needed a little bit of extra bandwidth to chance. So COVID hits, he's got some bandwidth, he writes a memoir and tells his life story.
Okay.
It's interesting. He grew up on Staten Island, which I had to look up on a map. It's one of the 5 boroughs in New York. It's the one that's to the southwest of the city. They're the redheaded stepchild of New York City. And talked about the chip on their shoulder that they have from being from Staten Island.
Oh, we're from New York too. Like, nobody cares. Nobody that's not from New York cares.
One of the things I always love about reading memoirs is that anything I wonder about, I can find out. Like, I can look up any significant event he mentions, any sketch on Saturday Night Live he says that he wrote. I can go find it and watch it. And for somebody with that public of a life for so long, it's pretty easy. So he, as a kid, growing up on Staten Island, he had the hard, poor life, but for some reason got selected to attend this, on a scholarship to this private prep school up in Manhattan. So he spent like an hour and a half on the Staten Island Ferry every day. The one from Spider-Man No Way Home. The one that gets split in half.
Sliced in half by alien technology.
He spent 2 hours a day every day on the Staten Island Ferry, just like we were talking with rural kids in Kansas. This is the same problem in New York City as in rural Kansas.
I got a scholarship to this cool prep school, but I got to ride a boat for 2 hours a day.
Yeah. So he's on the Staten Island Ferry going to Manhattan every day, finishes up at this prep school and gets selected to go to Harvard and studies Russian literature. It goes on like this weird. You ever see
that's the polar opposite of comedy, Russian literature.
I know. This is a theory I have about comedians. The best comedians tend to have like super high IQs. And what they're able to do in their comedy is really see the fringes of the society, the things that surprise us, the interesting things about life.
Well, let's rephrase that. The comedians that you value or that you get the most utility out of are ones that are able to shine a light in a very intellectual way, in a very funny way, on things that are real.
Fair. Jerry Seinfeld just came out with a couple of new episodes of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, and it just reinforced that to me, that he is one of those kind of people that is an observer and a thinker and can come up with creative observations that tickle your funny bone.
Yeah, but at the same time, you go watch an interview with Jim Carrey, and like he's just funny because he can make funny faces. Like that guy's a whack job from start to finish.
He's a bit of a philosopher.
I mean, if that's what you want to call it, sure.
Jim Carrey quote in the show notes. I just saw one this week that was quoting Jim Carrey. It says, everyone should become rich and famous and achieve all their wildest dreams so that they can realize that that's not the reason they're unhappy.
That's pretty good.
I thought so.
I hope that's not. Well, I hope that. I have a feeling that that's probably. Well, I'm just trying to throw shade at Jim Carrey. I'm not going to do that. Like I can't prove that he did or did not say that. Jim Carrey sponsored the podcast.
Okay, so Colin Jost went to Harvard, studied Russian literature. Anyway, ended up just getting into SNL the hard way. Like he worked on a newspaper or a television show or something in New York as a writer, working on a newspaper as a writer, some small, insignificant publication for years and years, and then finally just shot his shot and got on the staff at Saturday Night Live and was a writer for 10 years, I want to say, and then became the head writer. And then made his way onto the cast in front of the camera and just talked about every step along the way, all the hard work that went into it, what a week looks like in the production of Saturday Night Live, about how you're just working your butt off. Every day has like the first day you're brainstorming ideas, the second day you're workshopping, the third day you're hard writing, the fourth day you're rehearsing, the fifth day you're planning, and then the sixth day you're executing. You get Sunday off and you start over again every single week.
You would know all this if you watch 30 Rock, the TV show that I keep telling you to watch over and over again.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because Tina Fey realized that life itself was worthy of shining a magnifying glass on and seeing how interesting it is.
Or you just write what you know, and that was her whole life, being a writer at SNL.
Sure. And he had great stories to tell. I was surprised how little interest he had in taking credit for specific ideas, having been the head writer for so many years. There's a few things he mentioned by name that he was the one that thought of, but for the most part, he just kind of gave credit to the cast as a whole, to the writing team as a whole, as we all did this thing together.
Well, that's what makes you a good head writer, Ben, is the guy that can synthesize and like take the best of everybody and put it in the brew. It's not about big personalities. It's about the team. We're all here to move the ball forward. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is.
Anyway, spoiler alert, he on Saturday Night Live, when Scarlett Johansson came to host the show, he met her and asked her out. They ended up getting married and he quit the show. And
I will love and hate that man forever for that. She was, top of my list for the longest time.
There's one anecdote he shared that I absolutely loved that I want to share real fast. He talked about how much he admired his father, and he said, my father used to have a job for, it was some cosmetics company. I can't remember the name of it. He just worked at their factory producing cosmetics. And he said he was so satisfied with that job. And for some circumstance of life, he tried and got another job someplace else. And he said he regretted it almost immediately. As soon as he got to the new place, he realized it was worse. He missed his old job, and he tried to get his old job back and couldn't.
Oh.
And if the story ended there, it just sounds like this tragic life thing about grass being greener on the other side.
Yeah.
But then he talks about the way that his dad just picked himself up and made the best he could with the new life that he had and the new job, and then realized with appreciation all of the opportunities and experiences and friends that he had that he never would have had he not done this new thing.
Aw. I mean, what do you want me to say?
Nothing. You don't got to react to it.
You can't get out of it. You got to get into it. Like, that's the same kind of thing.
Okay, good. So you already have that ethic. I don't need to reinforce that with you. I want to do a quick board game survivor, Josh. So I've had friends and family visiting, and my brother-in-law, who's a board game sommelier, brought a couple of games I hadn't played before. Real quick, one we played was called Dog Park. It's a game where you take dogs on a walk in a park.
I love this. I love this premise.
It is delicious. Like,
What's the win condition? Coming back alive?
Okay. So it's like you're a professional dog walker, but somehow you're accumulating more and more dogs as you're doing this. And each dog has their preferences. They don't get along with some dogs, and you got to give this dog 2 treats and a rubber squeezy. And
it's compounding logic puzzles. I get it.
This dog wants sticks, and this dog likes tennis balls, and these 2 dogs don't get along, but this dog is good at whatever.
This is a disguised optimization spreadsheet. Make the situation optimal, and they keep throwing more stuff at you.
So you could take a disguise optimization spreadsheet and pick any random concept and layer it on top of it.
Yes.
But this concept of taking dogs for a walk in the park was so delicious. Like, the aesthetics of this board game are so visually pleasing. The color scheme, the art, the cards, the little chewy toys that the dogs play with. It's all just really draws you in almost by itself.
So it's just in the execution. You really love this.
Yes. And every card has like little facts because each dog is a breed of dog. And so it's like this breed originated when this task happened back in the years, whatever. And
why can you appreciate the flavor text in your dog walking game, but when it comes to the magic cards, you just don't care?
Stop changing the subject. So this is an example of synergy, of kismet. This thing is better than the sum of its parts.
Okay.
So, Dog Park.
Dog Park. It's just called Dog Park.
Dog Park.
Okay, how many players?
Up to 4.
How long is the game?
20 minutes.
Turn length?
Real short. It's got you take 5 turns and the game's over.
Okay. How much setup does it need? How long do I have to explain the instructions before we can play?
You just need a pile of cards and then you start playing.
Okay. So easy for beginners, newbies.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Other end of the complexity spectrum. So in my closet has sat this game called Legendary 007, James Bond. From what I understand, it is exactly what you were saying. There's this framework for playing a deck building game called Legendary.
Okay.
I think there's like 6 or 7 other versions of it out there. There's like an Avatar one and a Marvel one, and
it's one of these modular frameworks, and they stuck some IP onto it.
Yes. So this was the James Bond version of the Legendary deck building game.
Okay.
We made a big mistake, or I did as a game host. I think it's important in any group to always have one person that's played the game before.
Yes.
None of us had played it before. A few of us are experienced at learning new board games, but we were taking it out of the plastic. And whoever packaged this thing, and shame on you, Upper Deck, or whoever packaged this thing, it wasn't packaged very well for the way it needed to be prepared in order to start the game.
They packed it efficiently for them, not for you.
Right. So this had basically it's a deck building game, so all you have is cards, and you're playing this turn thing where you're basically, it's players versus game. It's the main mechanic. So you're building a deck that's your spy and what he can do, and then there's a deck that's the villain in what he's trying to do. Okay. So you're trying to foil his plans and assemble the knowledge, and he's trying to defeat you and achieve his master scheme.
Okay.
So you have to construct the villain deck in a very specific way so that it accelerates as the game goes on. So there's like the A tier cards and then the B tier cards and the C tier cards, and you have to separate them all out, shuffle them up, and put them in so that the villain gets worse as the game goes on.
Okay.
It's a good mechanic.
That makes sense, yeah. Escalating
and then there's all of the hero cards. And then in the box, there's 3 different James Bond movies included. There's like Dr. No, and The World It Will Never End, and GoldenEye, or whatever.
The World is Not Enough.
The World is Not Enough. So these 3 are in there. In the box, all of these cards are all mixed together.
Oh, cool.
All three missions are mixed together. That. All three villains are all mixed together. All the heroes are mixed together. Everything's mixed together. And so when you don't even understand how the mechanic of the game is supposed to work, it was really confusing to try to sort these cards out. Looking back on it, I wish the instructions had just said, hey, all the cards are mixed together, separate. Here's how you unbox this game.
Well, yeah, it's the difference between shuffle all the cards together or shuffle all the decks together and then separate them into A, B, and C versus separate them into A, B, and C and then shuffle each pack individually. Like the instructions can be very important there too.
Yeah.
Because you could be halfway through shuffling before you realize, oh, wait, we're supposed to sort all of these things?
Okay. So that being said, once we finally did it, it's a pretty cool game. It's pretty fun. If you like a deck building game and you like players versus game, this is a good one. That particular play group, I don't think would ever play it again just because it was a bad enough experience trying to unbox it together. But if I had a new group of people that wanted to play a game, I would get it out and I think it would be fun.
You see, that's a tricky genre that I have yet to broach with anybody in my space is the players versus game genre. Every game that I sit down in front of people, because people understand the basic assumption of the game is that it's me versus the other players. If I introduce them to a co-op against this random thing, I don't know. I feel like that's the next tier of board game player.
I have two other favorite players versus games. Tell me if you've played them. Pandemic.
I've not played Pandemic. Heard good things.
And Escape.
You've talked about Escape before, I think, where you had like is that the one where you build the tiles and you have to get out of the tomb or
get out of a maze.
Classic.
Basically, the game is 10 minutes. Clock is ticking. And it's a dice rolling game where you got to roll the dice, get matching pairs to accomplish tasks, to explore the maze and find the exit and get everyone out together.
Maybe my problem is the only player versus games that I've played are incredibly complicated. I think Arkham Horror was one of them, which we played for 5 hours and did not finish.
Yeah,
and I was
Escape is 1/10 the complexity of Arkham Horror.
Yeah, that's probably what turned me off to the whole genre. There was some of them we played in Texas together. Remember, we were heroes on a board, and our objective was we were like some underwater lab, and there was Cthulhu-esque horrors that were chasing us, and we had to get like some sciencey thing.
Yeah, I don't remember what that was called though.
I don't remember what it's called either. I remember sacrificing myself boldly in order to achieve the objective.
And that's one of the mechanics you can have in a player versus game that you wouldn't otherwise have.
Well, good on me for making sure everybody else could win.
There's one other thing I want to talk about today. This was at your invitation. So, Josh, you
how can we not talk about the global phenomenon, the thing that has taken over all social media, that is K-pop Demon Hunters?
Well, I'm not on TikTok, so imagine if everything you knew about K-pop Demon Hunters excluded TikTok. Now, how much would you know about it?
I watched the movie. All right. So, okay, without TikTok, how much would I know about K-pop Demon Hunters? Oof, actually very little.
Right. Okay, so that's where I am. So I heard my daughters one day go, hey, let's watch K-pop Demon Hunters. They turned on. I just put on my headphones and did something else. Just from the title alone, I thought that completely is not interesting.
This is not for me.
Not for me.
I am excluded as a 40-plus-year-old white man.
Yes.
Okay, so here's when I first heard about it. I first heard about it months ago because it came across as an ad. A paid for from Sony Animation Studios ad for K-pop Demon Hunters on TikTok. And I watched like 5 seconds of it, flicked to the next one. I went, wait, and I went back and watched the whole thing. I'm like, okay, I'm going to find my daughter where she is in this building right now. And I'm going to show this to her because this is a movie that we are going to watch together.
Oh, cool. So you set up a date.
I personally had no interest in the movie. Like, oh, this is on my list. I have to watch it when it comes out. I'm going to line up at the box office. Yay. No, it was like, oh, this looks like a cute enough premise that I will chuckle a few times while my daughter enjoys the crap out of it. Okay. That's kind of the space that it sat in my brain.
Nice.
But then I watched it. Did you watch it?
Yeah. Okay. So you asked me to, and I did because that's what we do. And for the first 10 minutes of this thing, I hated it. And I was mad at it, and I was mad at you.
How dare you? The first 10 minutes? They're so hype. It's such a good hook.
It was confirming everything I thought why I wasn't watching it the first time with my daughters. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so annoying.
It's a paper thin premise about a K-pop band
there's a whole bunch of
demons.
Exposition. It's jump cutty. It's anime. It's
the
attention
anime
deficity.
Okay. Yes,
Josh, give me some grace here. I'm talking about the first 10 minutes.
You're talking about the first 10 minutes. I will give you this grace.
It confirmed everything I thought about why I didn't want to watch it.
It is very exposition-y, the first 10 minutes, but I think the premise is so radical that it kind of has to be.
And I did that thing where I hovered my mouse over the window and shook it so that the time bar would show up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's still 80 more minutes of this.
I am a sucker for good anime expressions, and I love that they worked it into this, like, what is supposed to be like a 3D animated.
Definitely. Where, like, the girl's hungry and she thinks of food and her eyeballs become the food and pop out. Like that.
Or they, like, there's one point where they're, like, angrily yelling at each other to hype each other up, and they do, like, just way over the top expressions.
All of a sudden, their teeth turn into triangles.
Yes.
Their eyeballs become pinholes.
This is something that we don't do enough. Like, yes, it's animated. It's 3D animated, so what? They have to be photorealistic the whole time? No, screw that noise. It's still a cartoon. Let's have fun with it.
Yeah. Okay.
I like that. That's endearing.
So 10 minutes. Somewhere in between the 10th minute and the 20th minute, I stopped watching the clock. It settled into a groove. It was consistent enough that my defenses started to come down, and then I was hooked.
I like the exposition at the beginning. I knew, like, just accept the exposition. You're going to need it. This is a really weird premise. They need exposition to set it up. But, like, when they're in the plane, this is the opening scene. It's on every trailer. They realize that the plane has been taken over by demons and they have to kill them. And so then they drop into one of their tracks for no reason that for the plot whatsoever. But it's a super hyped up song and a great action sequence. Like, at that point, I was hooked. I'm like, yep.
And then we skydive out of the plane without parachutes into the stadium where our fans are waiting and our concert begins.
And it was awesome. And it was so cool the whole time. This whole movie is built on the rule of cool. Like, rule zero, this entire movie.
Absolutely. And it's not the first time it's been done, but I was having trouble thinking of other times. So I want to ask you this question before we dive into that, which is, what other properties can you think of where they have this thing where there are some people that are part of, like, this protected Men in Black is a good example. Everyone else is having a normal world, but then these few people over here know that there's something else going on that no one else knows.
Yes.
Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, like...
I read that. Did we read that book for the podcast?
No.
I read that book, and it's interesting but bad.
Okay, but that's the thing. This is what's happening in K-pop Demon Hunters. All the the fans are just normal people. They think the world is an ordinary place, but these our three heroines know something else about the world and have special powers. But to them, that's also ordinary life. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but in Korea.
There you go. Yeah, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Like, there's a bunch of this. This is a trope that we have in fiction because we want the supernatural, but we also want a contemporary setting. And so we have to spin it in a way that it's all happening kind of in the background. And there's hand-wavy reasons why they don't come to true life.
And I don't mind that. And I guess I don't mind this trope where we've got this special class of people that have extra abilities and the world is just a different place to them. They're the Men in Black. That's the way they dress. They know about the aliens, but we don't need to know that.
All right. So what about minute 10 to minute 20 sucked you into this movie? Now, hang on a second. Sucked in is too strong a word. Like, you stopped watching the clock. Did you ever get sucked in? Were you happy that it was over?
Yes. No, I was sad when it was over. Here's why, Josh. I've told you this before. I can't remember what I said it about, but I said it's one thing to say in a narrative, and then he wrote the best song ever. But it's another thing to say, to then write the song and have it in the show. And I thought for a minute these were just going to be K-pop tracks that they borrowed and put in the show, but that wasn't it at all. These were all original numbers for this fictional group that seemed worthy of fandom. Like, I'm not into the K-pop genre, but these songs seemed like if they were real songs, they would actually go on the pop charts.
Okay, so another time I want to reach the internet and slap you because, one, they are real songs. These are full tracks. Two, they are on the charts. Freaking the Saja Boys, the fictitious demon boy band.
Josh, I'm not trying to be clueless here. I was setting you up.
Oh, you're
Don't blame me.
So, okay. Well, I thought that was part of our shtick, is that I get angry about this.
You have to threaten me with punitive violence.
Yes, I have to threaten you because of your ignorance. Dang you, Ben. No. All right, so yes, as we're talking about this, and one of the reasons I want to talk about this is blowing up. Like, they set a record because they are like only the second K-pop boy band to ever make it onto the American charts. And they're like number 3. Their last song that they sing when they're in full demon mode, which, by the way, I am advocating very strongly for our group costume for Halloween this year.
Wait, which one? The girl one or the boy one? Are you gonna do a mix? Like,
both.
some of you will be
both. I want me and my son.
Saja boys, and some of you will be Huntrix.
I want me and my son to be the Saja boys, and I want my wife and my daughter to be Huntrix.
Okay, I love it.
We'll see if that gets any traction because it's my wife's.
It's kind of late in the year, though. Aren't your costumes already locked in?
So, yes and no. They're air quotes locked in, but we haven't started on them. And okay, Nicole, don't like. I'm sorry. We're all kind of lukewarm on the Inspector Gadget idea. Like, it's a good one. It's a good foursome.
Has somebody got to be the dog?
It's not the best we've done.
Okay.
I have a whole plan on being Chief Quimby.
You definitely striking while the iron's hot to be Huntrix and Soulja Boys this year.
I just want to wear that cool hat that they're wearing in the last number, that big flat-brimmed cool hat. Maybe I just like big hats.
With like some demon stripes on your neck
I'll do
and arms.
The purple face paint and like the dangly nonsense and the big coat. Yeah. We'll play K-pop songs on our speakers when we're walking around.
If your inertia for changing or not changing is simply on the basis of how easy are these new costumes to accomplish. The girls' costumes, on the other hand, that's going to be a feat.
Yeah, it's a matter of abstracting it down to a handful of components, getting a baseline jacket or something that'll work, and then altering
Spoken like an experienced budget cosplayer.
Budget being the key word there, not monetary. Time.
Okay.
All right. So yes, these are real tracks. Not only are these real tracks, these are bangers, Ben. We downloaded while we were watching the movie. My wife took every track on the soundtrack and added it to our Kansas playlist that we had downloaded to our phones so we could listen to it the whole way.
I'm surprised you didn't talk about that in your epic road trip story. Okay, so Josh, since I watched it yesterday, I've since listened to Golden by Huntrix at least 10 times.
That's outstanding. It's so good.
It's legit. It's a banger.
I love that you caught on to this.
Yeah.
I like the last song that they sang. The 2 songs, both of them. The Idol that the Demon Boy band sings. And then What It Sounds Like, the last song that Huntrix sings. It's so good.
Okay, here's where it went from amusing and hooked me to where it's actually stuck with me and been thought-provoking. There was the middle part where we're having the misunderstanding and the hiding secret thing, which can get a bit can try my patience. But the girls of Huntrix were collaborating on lyrics for a song to diss on the boy band. And they weren't jiving over the lyrics. Like, the one girl couldn't agree with the other 2 girls about, and there's a reason behind it, but they couldn't come to an agreement. And then one of them says, maybe the fact that this isn't resonating with us means it also won't resonate with our fans. And I loved that insight. And and here's my hot take on K-pop Demon Hunters. It's a musical.
They sing throughout the whole thing.
No, not it's a show with music in it. It is a musical.
A musical
In the traditional form of a musical, where there are songs evenly spaced throughout at each of the inflection points in the plot, and they are written to tell the story of the plot.
Ooh, and each one of the songs moves the
plot forward. These are not background. This is not background music. This is exposition in the music.
Okay. I fully agree and concur. But all right, so here's my hot take then. If this is a musical and these songs are musicals, like, as you compare this soundtrack to the soundtrack of something like Hamilton, where they're just singing what is happening on stage.
Yeah. These
songs can be taken in isolation as just a good song.
Yeah, which is a monumental accomplishment, if you ask me.
Of storytelling and of songwriting.
Because the diss track that they were writing had a dual meaning. It had this, like, where they were trying to diss on the other people, but it was also telling the story of the one girl that was at conflict within herself.
Oh, yeah, that was just perfect. And then they reintroduced it at the correct inflection point and caused the friction that is
it
just
was
standard.
like a musical.
Like a musical. Did exactly the thing.
Yep.
I really appreciated they did a deep dive into, these are the bad guys, these are the good guys. And I thought, like, okay, we've introduced our good guys, we've introduced our bad guys, here's the clear motivation. Bad guys versus good guys in a weird way, go. But then we started humanizing one of the bad guys. And then that brought one of our protagonists to question every one of the assumptions and things that she had been told.
And gave the story its romance at its heart.
Well, not just the romance, but like there's a part where they were killing other demons and she stopped randomly and like, are you also a hostage? Are you doing this against your will? Like she's questioning everything that she's ever been told about what it is that she's doing.
Okay. We can stop if you don't want to do this, but tell me, do you want to try to analyze what maybe this story had to tell about our society with this supernatural subplot?
Ooh, yeah, let's go into that. What did this have to say about our society with the supernatural thing? Well, the idea that there is, just the lurking darkness, and there's,
Yeah, there was some kind of tie to antiquity. Like, these demons weren't just contemporary, they also represented our ancestry and the ideas of the past.
Ooh, okay. And then Jinyu is coming back as kind of this recurring negative thing. Like, this bad thing happened forever ago, but the consequences of it are resonating, and they're just continuing to compound into current time. Interesting, man.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're taking a creative writing class.
Okay, so the male character, I can't remember his name. He had his own darkness. They called it his shame, and this is what all the demons had in common. The demons weren't particularly menacing as you think of demons. They weren't like, the infernal spawn of Satan with no tie to humanity that are just want to feast upon your soul so that you can suffer for all eternity.
Let's be fair. It depends entirely on the context of fiction that you're talking about when you're talking about demons. Because
this is Eastern mythology.
Well, in Dungeons and Dragons, demons have a whole spectrum that start from mephits, which are ridiculous, to the lords of hell kind of thing, and they're all demons on that spectrum. The Dresden Files, which I'm reading, he had such a great. Jim Butcher can turn a good phrase every once in a while, and one of them, I think I sent it to you. As soon as I heard it, I paused it and I sent it to you. He was talking about demons, like, there are the demons that will flay the skin off your eyeballs and drink the screams that you make. And then there are others that don't go in for that namby-pamby stuff. And like, that's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to try to characterize this, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not saying this is the way I think it was, but I think they were trying to tie this underworld of demons together with the common concept that what all of them had in common was this debt to this all-powerful thing that was trying to consume souls, and what they had in common was some kind of shame, some kind of mistake or greed or something they'd done in their mortal life that then they'd either traded their soul from during that time or made some kind of deal to get something they wanted in mortal life that they regretted.
Well, then it wasn't even just that. Like, it went even further, because then towards the end of the movie, as this Demon King is starting to assert his power over even our protagonists, it's like the things that they were even just questioning about themselves. Not even their shame, but like their insecurities.
I think this is one of the weaknesses of it, is that it became a little bit unclear what the power was and what the drive. But I also think it was deliberate.
The power was negative feelings. It's like, just feeling bad was his power.
So our protagonist is the girl. I can't remember her name. Gigi or whatever it was. And she had this hidden secret. And I think the storytellers deliberately made her secret non-specific so that it could be whatever the viewer wanted it to be. So it could be your secret, whatever it is. Whether it's your gender identity or the fact that your mom told you you're a mistake because she didn't love your father, or whatever it is that it's the thing that's your shame, you can put yourself into this character situation.
The main character's name is Rumi. And her
Rumi.
whole deal was, she was part demon because her father was a demon. Completely unexplained, and we don't need it, so thank you. We've had enough exposition. Who cares?
Right.
But what's interesting was her obsession with then creating the golden thing. I can't remember. Like, there's a lot of Korean words.
The umizumi. Yeah.
The
thing that keeps the demons out of our world forever.
Yeah, the force field that they were making with their music, which is a cool thing, resonating with the positive emotions in the souls of all the people around, coming together in some form of magic that pushes away the negative feeling, emotional demons. I like that. That's kind of a good analogy for, like, yes, let's all just remember the positive things and keep the darkness locked away. Okay, maybe that's not the best. We're not dealing with it. But she was obsessed with it. She was obsessed with making this thing perfect, and we didn't find out until later.
Because it was personal.
She was trying to, she was using that as this, if I just get this done, then it will fix all of my problems that she was not sharing with anybody. And I don't know about you, Ben, but I've never been in a situation where I have dedicated my life to a specific thing, knowing that it would fix all of my problems.
Me neither, Josh. So the boy band leader demon, I can't remember his name either. If you got him up to say it,
the Genu, the leader of the demon boy band, which was okay. Hang on a second.
He's the only demon we really got any backstory on.
But the introduction of that demon boy band was awesome. When he came forward and presented his plan to the Demon King, he's like, "How do you think this is going to work?" And all they did, 100% of the convincing of the Demon King was they all just struck a pose. And then the other demons were like, "Yeah, that'll totally
that's
work.
That's going to work. I'm convinced." Okay, so even though I'm not immersed in that world, I don't follow K-pop, it's just enough on the periphery that I could tell when they were giving it a loving send-up. Right?
Yeah, they and apparently, from everything that I've consumed, they did all of the correct K-pop tropes and story beats
and tropes. Yeah,
they went on
the autograph sessions and the fans who know more about your life than you do, and
the random stupid game show that they went on to called Play Games with Us. That's totally a thing.
Some fan captured a photo of them touching their feet together under the table and start a speculation thread about a romance. And
the fact that they brought up a track. All right, so when they started doing the takedown, that song that they were gonna try to write, but then didn't end up finishing or whatever, when it came on, and then the one person, they all started dancing perfectly to the music, even though they weren't expecting it to come on. I saw some people speculating oh, that doesn't really happen. She totally had to have known it was going to happen in order to start dancing. But then somebody spliced in cuts of actual K-pop groups where they're just standing around, randomly, either they're between filming or they're just out in public together, and somebody will start playing one of their songs, and the muscle memory on these groups, all of them instantly will start doing the choreography together.
Wow.
Before they realize, oh wait, we're not actually having to do this right now.
And of course they didn't show this in that movie, but I wonder how much time those stars spend in rehearsal to perfect those movements and stuff.
I couldn't even imagine. But the fact where I saw a clip, they were in a group and they were doing some publicity thing at a theme park, just standing around waiting for more people to come up, and somebody in the crowd played one of their songs, and 3 of the 5 boys did the initial first 5 movements of the dance before they started laughing and stopped.
Yeah, so whoever made this obviously had a great deal of affection for that world. I felt that was a very safe way for me to consume it and be exposed to it without having to actually delve into it. It's like watching Galaxy Quest to learn what it's like to be a Trekkie without actually having to be a Trekkie.
I've also seen some social media posts that said KDA walked so K-pop demon hunters could run. And KDA is that Korean K-pop band that Riot Games created for a publicity thing for League of Legends that I listen to ridiculously. That is also on my Kansas Road Trip
several
playlist.
times on the podcast. Yeah. Nice. Tangent. Sony Animation Studios is killing it right now. These are the same guys that made Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
And then Mitchell's versus the Machines. Have you seen that one?
I haven't yet.
Oh, man.
I just convinced myself to.
Yeah. So that one, it's kind of the same thing. It's a kooky premise, and they're taking risks with the animation and the storytelling.
They feel like the Pixar animation studios of the 2020s.
Let's talk about that for a second, because K-pop Demon Hunters released on Netflix, direct to Netflix from Sony Animations, on the same weekend that Elio, Pixar's flagship
came out in
new
traditional
IP
theaters.
came out in traditional theaters. And K-pop Demon Hunters is the biggest thing that has happened in the past 6 months. And Elio tanked.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to be the fresh thinkers forever, man. It's somewhere else right now.
I saw somebody else talking about that this is a clear indicator that Disney has it wrong. Like, for adults taking children, I don't want to take my kids to the theater for a movie that I have no interest in seeing, but I'll sit on my couch and watch it. Like, I don't know, a traditional theater release is...
There's definitely some inertia with the traditional theater releases.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, that's all I have to say about it. One other thing. R.I.P. my shorts feed. I did too many YouTube searches of these songs and the stuff surrounding it, and now my shorts feed is like fangirls recreating the choreography from the anime and stuff, and yeah.
All right. We talked a little bit about the storytelling and the random nonsense that was happening. Like, it was still just like a good movie to watch. Like, I felt like it was entertaining. There was the whole
definitely worth 90 minutes.
The whole
if you're on the fence, give it a shot.
The whole shtick with the cat and the bird. Man, those are the two coolest, like, tertiary characters ever.
It felt like a cameo from a Miyazaki movie.
And the random joke, like, what's with the bird's tiny hat? I actually made it for the cat, but the bird keeps stealing it. Like, that's just a solid joke.
I didn't love it, but it stuck with me. It sucked me in. Deservedly. It was beautiful to look at, it was fun to listen to, and it stuck with me for a little while. So solid 8 out of 10.
All right, the romance. All right, spoilers, I guess, for K-pop Demon Hunters. But you're ingrained in your brain. It's gonna go this way. Like, oh, she's gonna turn him, and he's gonna be good, and then he's gonna live, and everything's gonna be fine. And it does not go that way. Like, they got close, and like he stabbed her in the back, like hard, and then, like, he died. And it did not go the way that you expected a traditional romance story to go. And I appreciated that they, like, no, this makes more sense in the plot.
Okay, so if this is a musical, was it a romance or a tragedy?
Ooh, okay, well, everybody died at the end of Romeo and Juliet. Is that a romance or a tragedy?
That's a tragedy, definitely. No. I'm sorry. The two traditional Shakespearean choices are comedy or tragedy. At the end of a comedy, someone gets hitched. At the end of a tragedy, somebody dies.
All right, so our K-pop Demon Hunters has a happy ending, but nobody got hitched.
Yeah. I also like that they changed the goal. At the beginning, the exposition, this is unreliable narrator a little bit. At the beginning, the exposition establishes that the goal has to be establishing this golden curtain that keeps the underworld separate from our world. And in the end, the goal is changed. It's like, maybe we need some kind of separation, but that was the wrong kind.
Well, and I think because they did establish a new barrier thing between the demon world and the human world, but it wasn't a golden one. It was like a myriad of color rainbow.
It's a rainbow one now.
Yeah, it was the
it
conversation.
wasn't accidental.
No, it wasn't. I think a little bit, and the fact that they built it with a song that is about understanding and about revealing their true selves instead of hiding it.
And this idea of the demons being slaves to the shame of the past, and our stars realizing that that's just optional.
That's good. Yeah. It wasn't about like this golden resignation thing. It was about just embracing and understanding and moving forward together.
Yep.
Oh, the power of friendship.
Cool. Well, there you have it. A solid recommendation for K-pop Demon Hunters from the
if I
Bad at Magic
anything.
podcast.
Like, even if we spoiled it,
you didn't even give warnings. You just did it.
I gave one warning and then immediately spoiled it.
I'll have to do it in the show notes.
Yeah. Go watch it. Seriously, like, it's still out on Netflix. I'm gonna watch it again. Like, it's a good movie, and the soundtrack slaps.
I'll watch it again with my kids just to listen to the music. In fact, when I was watching it, my girls kept going, "Hey, Dad, can we watch that with you?" I'm like, "No, I'm just doing it for the podcast." They're like, but I'm like, "You've already watched it." They said, "Well, watch it again." So there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
That's my teenage daughter. So. All right. I had something else prepared. We'll save that for next time. Listeners, if you want to engage or recommend stuff to us, as you heard, we sometimes do the things you recommend, and we love hearing your interaction. You can engage with us on Facebook or on our subreddit. Links in the show notes.
If you like what we do, consider sharing us with a friend. If you like us, maybe your friends will like us too. It's been so long since I did my standard closing. I forgot it. If you really want to show us some love, consider taking your phone out of your pocket and give us a good review on the podcast player of your choice. Please. It's amazing the visibility that we can get from something like that. And if you want me to take Ben's well-prepared, well-researched podcast topic and throw it down the garbage disposal and make him watch a cartoon movie and talk about that instead from now until the end of time, consider becoming a patron on our Patreon page.
And until next time, try to be a little less bad at magic.